In the Mystic Azure Realm, within the heart of the Yu Kingdom, stood the bustling city of Green River. Its streets were alive with vibrant crowds, fragrant with blooming flowers, and noisy with the lively chatter of merchants and buyers. Among the chaos of trade and bartering, a small roadside tea stall offered relief, a large bowl of cool tea for just a single copper coin. A young man, dressed in plain and unassuming robes, sat at the tea stall, sipping slowly from his bowl. His demeanor was calm, but his sharp eyes carried a weight of vigilance and reflection. This man was Chu Xuan, a former disciple of the now-destroyed Infinite Sect. 20 years ago, he had crossed over from another world into this mystical realm. Yet, despite the passage of 2 decades, his current state of anonymity and struggle often left him embarrassed. As an outer disciple of the once mighty Infinite Sect, Chu Xuan lacked the innate talent or influential benefactors that propelled others to greatness. With nothing to rely on but his looks and sheer determination, he spent years cultivating the sect's foundational techniques. After a decade of grueling practice, he had finally refined his qi and advanced to the qi refining stage, earning the rank of inner disciple. However, Chu Xuan knew his mediocrity in cultivation. To compensate, he immersed himself in diverse and unorthodox arts: goo insects, poison crafting, corpse refinement, puppetry, and disguise techniques. His versatility earned him a reputation among his peers, eventually placing him 10th among the inner disciples. He had almost gained the favor of an elder, who might have elevated him to a direct disciple, but then disaster struck. The Infinite Sect's ancient ancestor fell to demonic possession during a crucial cultivation session, leading to his untimely death. This misstep gave the 5 righteous sects the justification they needed to label the Infinite Sect as heretical and wage war. Within a month, the sect crumbled under their assault, its leaders slain, defected, or captured. The once glorious Infinite Sect was reduced to ruins. Compared to the sect's golden core masters, Chu Xuan was but a small fry, his insignificance allowing him to slip through the cracks. For a year, he had lived on the run, his survival owed to his mastery of disguise and diverse magical arts. As he sat quietly sipping his tea, listening insects nestled in his ears amplified every sound in his surroundings. From the faint clatter of coins at a vendor's stall to the hushed whispers of a distant conversation, nothing escaped his heightened senses. A figure approached cautiously and sat across from him, a nervous-looking man in travel-worn robes. Leaning in, the man whispered, "Heavenly King covers the Earth Tiger?" Without hesitation, Chu Xuan replied calmly, "Pagoda subdues the river sprite lighter." The man sighed in relief. "Senior brother, you're bold to choose such a public place for our meeting." Chu Xuan's expression remained unreadable. "We are just simple rogue cultivators. What is there to fear?" The man, Liang, nodded deferentially. To him, Chu Xuan's audacity was nothing short of legendary. As the last known inner disciple of the Infinite Sect, Chu Xuan had eluded the righteous sects longer than any of his peers. Liang could only marvel at his courage. "Did you bring the items?" Chu Xuan asked, his tone casual but firm. Liang handed over a low-grade storage bag. Chu Xuan inspected its contents: demonic beast blood pearls, compact spheres of refined blood essence vital for cultivating blood arts. Satisfied, Chu Xuan tossed 10 small spiritual stones to Liang, who pocketed them greedily. Just as Chu Xuan was preparing to leave, his heightened senses alerted him to something amiss. The bustling market around them had subtly changed, vendors were replaced, voices sounded unfamiliar, and several auras emanated the power of Foundation establishment cultivators. It was a trap. Glancing at Liang, Chu Xuan calculated his next move. The human skin mask he wore was freshly crafted, and no one aside from Liang knew his current appearance. "Time to change my face again," he thought. Feigning calm, he said, "Junior brother, I need another item." Liang nodded eagerly. "What do you need, senior brother?" "Spirit blood pills," Chu Xuan said, his voice low. Liang hesitated. "Those are meant for injured Foundation establishment cultivators." "Senior brother, are you?" He stopped mid-sentence, realization dawning. "You found Uncle Master Lu." Uncle Master Lu, a Foundation establishment cultivator and one of the few Infinite Sect survivors, had been rumored to evade capture. Liang's face lit up with hope, but Chu Xuan's cold glare silenced him. "Do not ask questions that shouldn't be asked," Chu Xuan warned. Liang reluctantly handed over a medium spiritual stone, a rare and valuable item among qi refining cultivators. "This is all I can spare," he said. Chu Xuan nodded. "Follow me." As they left the tea stall, 6 cultivators emerged from the shadows, their leader radiating the power of the Foundation establishment stage. His eyes gleamed with excitement. "Liang is leading us to a big fish," he whispered. "Prepare to move." The group tailed Chu Xuan and Liang to an abandoned residence in the eastern part of the city. As they encircled the building, an explosion rocked the area. Liang was hurled out, blood spraying as he screamed, Lu Jinxiong is underground. They've discovered me. The righteous cultivators surged forward, storming into the residence. Inside, they found a maze of passageways filled with deadly traps. Eventually, they stumbled upon a mummified corpse, its face grotesquely flayed. The leader's face twisted in rage.
This is He Liang.
That impostor outside was Chu Xuan. We've been tricked. By the time they returned to the surface, Chu Xuan was long gone. The leader clenched his fists, his voice trembling with fury.
Damn that Chu Xuan. He's escaped again.
Chu Xuan stood by the riverbank, peeling off the human skin mask he had fashioned from He Liang's face. Without a second thought, he tossed it into the flowing water, watching as it drifted away. These makeshift masks are truly uncomfortable, he muttered, turning his attention to He Liang's storage bag. As he rummaged through its contents, a satisfied smile spread across his face. Not a bad haul, over 80 small spiritual stones, 1 medium spiritual stone, 3 rejuvenation pills, a vial of spirit restoration water, a barrel of demonic beast blood, and all of He Liang's remaining spiritual qi. Quick gains through plunder are undeniably efficient. He smacked his lips in amusement, recalling how he had ambushed He Liang in the abandoned residence. The surprise attack had left the man helpless, allowing Chu Xuan to extract valuable information about the righteous sects before draining his spiritual qi with the soul extraction technique. He then skinned He Liang's face to craft a disguise, aiding in his narrow escape. Yet, even as he admired his spoils, a troubling thought lingered. Can I truly continue to evade forever? He murmured. The path of demonic cultivation demanded lifeblood in abundance, not only for his progress but also for nurturing the goo insects that had become his indispensable allies. Starving the goo would mean courting disaster, as they would inevitably turn on him. If only switching to righteous cultivation were an option, Chu Xuan mused with a wry smile. But the thought was fleeting, his mediocre talents made starting over unthinkable. Only the dark arts of demonic cultivation, with their low barriers to entry and rapid results, suited someone of his limited potential. His eyes caught on a dusty, blood-colored mirror in He Liang's storage bag. Intrigued, he retrieved it and attempted to channel spiritual qi into it, expecting it to activate.
Nothing happened. Strange, he murmured.
Could it be a higher-grade artifact? Undeterred, Chu Xuan injected half of his remaining spiritual qi into the mirror. This time it buzzed faintly, the dust clearing to reveal a vivid scene: towering skyscrapers, deserted streets and shambling zombies. Chu Xuan froze, a wave of recognition washing over him. This world looks just like the zombie apocalypse movies I watched before my transmigration, he thought, his brows furrowing. As if in response to his confusion, the mirror pulsed with a strange thought. It offered him a way to travel directly to this apocalyptic realm. Without hesitation, Chu Xuan reached out to touch the mirror. In an instant, his vision was consumed by swirling lights and distorted sounds. When clarity returned, he found himself standing amidst a desolate cityscape. Towering buildings surrounded him, their once bustling interiors now eerily silent. The streets were cluttered with abandoned vehicles and overgrown weeds. A sense of desolation hung heavy in the air. The sound of shuffling feet snapped Chu Xuan out of his reverie. A decayed figure staggered into view, its hollow eyes locking onto him. The stench of decay filled the air as the zombie lunged.
Chu Xuan frowned.
With a flick of his finger, a streak of blood-red light shot forth, severing the zombie's head cleanly. Its body collapsed in a heap, blood spraying the ground. Still human-like, Chu Xuan noted calmly, observing the remains. Though his cultivation was only at the qi refining stage, his enhanced strength and reflexes made such creatures no threat. As he turned to leave, a familiar stirring in his palm made him pause. From a slit in his hand, a blood-steel wire goo slithered out, a blood-red worm, tough as steel and fiercely loyal. It writhed eagerly, sensing the fresh corpse nearby. The goo had been Chu Xuan's invaluable companion, cultivated over years with great care. Its appetite for flesh and blood was insatiable, and its strength unmatched among other goo of its rank. Could zombies serve as food for the goo? Chu Xuan wondered aloud. Kneeling beside the corpse, he allowed the blood-steel wire to burrow into the body. Wet, crunching sounds echoed as it feasted. Moments later, the goo returned to his palm, clean and satisfied. Its reaction confirmed Chu Xuan's suspicion: zombies were a viable source of nourishment. If the goo could feed on them, their blood might also be suitable for his cultivation techniques. Excited by the prospect, Chu Xuan ventured deeper into the city. Before long, he encountered 3 more zombies. The blood-steel wire darted forward, binding their limbs with ease. With swift precision, Chu Xuan slit their throats, collecting their blood in a barrel he retrieved from his storage bag. Once the barrel was full, he allowed the goo to feast on the remains. Sitting cross-legged, Chu Xuan began practicing the blood refinement spell, a foundational technique of the blood spirit technique. As he purified the zombie blood, its impurities dissolved, leaving behind small gleaming blood pearls. He swallowed one, closing his eyes to focus on the energy surging within him. Moments later, he opened his eyes, a satisfied smile on his face.
It works, he murmured.
The pearl's energy had strengthened his spiritual chi significantly, bringing him closer to a breakthrough in the blood spirit technique. This world might be the perfect sanctuary for a demonic cultivator, Chu Xuan mused. Here, he could harvest blood and flesh without fear of heavenly retribution. If the blood of zombies could sustain his techniques and goo insects, this apocalyptic realm might just hold the key to his ascent as a supreme demon lord. With renewed determination, Chu Xuan set off into the zombie-infested city, his mind teeming with plans for the future.
Hey everyone, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy the audiobooks, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support us further, consider becoming a Patreon member. As a member, you'll gain the ability to request the next part of a novel audiobook I've uploaded, depending on your Patreon tier.
The blood spirit technique, divided into 9 levels, correlates each level with the corresponding layer of chi refining. The first 3 levels of chi refining are considered the early stage, the 4th to 6th levels the middle stage, and the final 3 levels the late stage. Chu Xuan, having mastered the 4th level of the blood spirit technique, was in the midst of the chi refining middle stage. Advancing to the 5th level would mark another step forward and grant him access to new spells. More importantly, zombies are not ordinary humans. Slaying zombies does not invoke the celestial retribution that typically befalls those who kill fellow humans, a fortunate oversight. Chu Xuan suddenly realized that he had stumbled upon an excellent opportunity. Not only could he continue advancing his blood arts without concern, but he could also utilize goo, poison techniques, or even refine corpse puppets without needing a traditional alchemical furnace. Were these numerous zombies natural sources and readily available materials, weren't they? Moreover, with my current cultivation level, returning to the Mystic Azure Realm would still pose numerous dangers, he pondered. Yet on this planet, I wield the power of life and death, a formidable force.
Chu Xuan smiled.
He could well utilize the zombies here to diligently cultivate his demonic techniques. Once he had amassed sufficient power, returning to his home would not be too late. Let's continue collecting zombies, he decided. Walking along the city streets, Chu Xuan soon chose a 5-story shopping mall as his temporary base.
Walmart,
he muttered, glancing at the sign before striding into the mall. On the first floor, numerous zombies roamed aimlessly, growling without purpose. Chu Xuan's presence quickly drew their attention, and in the next moment, they charged at him. Chu Xuan laughed joyfully. No rush, there's enough for everyone. Moments later, on the 5th floor, Chu Xuan looked at the 6 bathtubs filled with blood before him. His face, initially weary from the bloodletting, now bore a satisfied smile. Such an abundance of blood would sustain his cultivation for a long time. However, constantly collecting blood is too tedious. Time to refine a few corpse puppets to work for me. Chu Xuan scoured the mall but failed to find a suitable zombie. Refining a corpse into a corpse puppet required a body inherently strong, ideally muscular, and filled with deep resentment, which would make the corpse puppet incredibly powerful and vengeful, giving it an advantage against enemies. However, the zombies in this mall hardly fit that description. They were emaciated and feeble, their roars lacking any vitality. Such feeble noises, they really zombies? Never mind, I'll rest for now and look around the area later. There must be some robust targets nearby. Chu Xuan pulled over a lounge chair and laid down, not worried about zombie attacks. The blood steel wire was always ready to protect him, reacting even faster than he could to any potential threats. Throughout the past year, each day and night had been spent in perpetual fear, evading the relentless pursuit of the righteous sections. Others perceived him as poised and unflappable, yet this demeanor was nothing more than a carefully crafted facade. In such dire circumstances, one needs supreme rationality and calm to survive. At last, granted a brief respite, Chu Xuan could no longer contain the exhaustion that gnawed at his spirit.
He succumbed to sleep.
Elsewhere, outside the Walmart mall, 2 figures approached stealthily. The leader, a man with muscles coiled like dragons, was followed by a gaunt companion. In a hushed tone, the slender man said, "Brother Hu, command me as you will. If it will cure my mother, I'll do anything." A flicker of mockery crossed Tang Hu's eyes as he replied with a smile, "Rest assured, I won't send you to your death. There's still some food in this mall. You distract the zombies, I gather it. If you find yourself surrounded, do not fear, I will rescue you." The gaunt man nodded emphatically, "All right, I trust you." With that, he cautiously entered the mall, armed with a hose. Moments later, he had attracted a horde of zombies. Seizing the opportunity, Tang Hu strode into the mall, hastily stuffing cans and medicines into his backpack, items with a long shelf life and still useful if unspoiled. Suddenly, a panicked voice rang out from nearby, "Brother Hu! There are too many zombies.
Help me."
Surrounded by a swarm of zombies, the gaunt man's face was etched with terror. Hu, however, laughed sinisterly and continued to pack various resources into his backpack, making no move to assist.
"Brother Hu, save me."
The gaunt man's eyes were filled with desperate fury. Tang Hu chuckled darkly, "I forgot to tell you something. Your mother died yesterday. The Spirit Hounds gang won't waste medicine on a 60-year-old woman." The gaunt man's eyes widened in shock. A zombie seized the moment to pounce, sinking its teeth into his chest. "I lured you here precisely to exploit you one last time," Tang Hu sneered. "After all, I've used you many times before, this won't make much difference. Thank you for drawing the zombies away with your life."
"Oh, and you have a sister, right?"
"I'll take care of her for you." By then, the gaunt man was overwhelmed by a mass of bloodthirsty zombies tearing flesh from his bones. With his last ounce of strength, he screamed, "Tang Hu! I will haunt you even in death." Tang Hu laughed heartily, "Very well, come find me when you become a ghost." As the commotion drew more zombies, Tang Hu swiftly made his way to the second floor. Many scavengers had risked the first floor of the mall, but few dared venture to the second or higher floors, where more zombies and presumably more resources awaited.
"Yes."
Tang Hu, eyes gleaming with avarice, scoured his way up, his gaze practically shooting green beams.
Thump, thump.
Some zombies even leapt from higher floors, plummeting straight toward the commotion caused by the gaunt man. Greed surged within Tang Hu at the sight, and he headed straight for the fifth floor. Indeed, he encountered almost no zombies along the way. However, upon reaching the fifth floor, Tang Hu froze. Numerous zombie corpses lay scattered about. Judging by the dryness of the blood, they had died not long before. Had someone reached the fifth floor of the mall before him? Scanning the area, Tang Hu's eyes quickly landed on a lounge chair in the middle of an open space. A young man in strange attire lay upon it, deeply asleep. Around him, 6 bathtubs brimmed with blood. This bizarre scene made Tang Hu involuntarily swallow his saliva.
So much food.
His eyes then fell on the dozens of canned goods near the young man, and his greed intensified. He hurriedly began stuffing the cans into his backpack. "You have a nice build," a calm voice suddenly sounded. Startled, Tang Hu swiftly drew his machete and swung around to strike.
Clang.
A metallic ring echoed, sending a numbing shock through Tang Hu's wrist, nearly causing him to drop his blade. He turned to see the young man already standing, looking at him with keen interest. The gaze was peculiar, as if he didn't regard Tang Hu as a person but rather as an object. What frightened Tang Hu even more was the sight of a blood-red worm wriggling in the young man's palm.
He swallowed hard.
Since the outbreak of the zombie crisis, the world had become filled with too many unknown mysteries. A person who could symbiotically live with a worm was no ordinary being. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Tang Hu wisely set down his backpack and raised his hands above his head. "Hey man, all these belongings are yours. My brother-in-law is Zhao Hong, the boss Zhao. Let's talk this through." Chu Xuan's interest was piqued at the mention of a name.
"Boss Zhao, who is that?"
Tang Hu, momentarily stunned, quickly responded, "Boss Zhao is the leader of the Spirit Hounds gang, the largest organization in East Lake City. His name is Zhao Hong."
Chu Xuan nodded.
"Tell me everything you know about the area." With no room to refuse, Tang Hu recounted all the information he knew. Chu Xuan nodded slightly in approval. Tang Hu, trying to smile, pleaded, "Big brother, considering I've been so cooperative and for my brother-in-law's sake, could you let me go?" Chu Xuan chuckled, "What I mean is, your physique is excellent, perfect for my corpse refining material."
Tang Hu froze. Corpse refining?
Before he could react, the blood steel wire in Chu Xuan's palm shot out, swiftly binding his limbs. Tang Hu struggled desperately, but the blood-red worm was as hard as steel and impossible to break free from. "Big brother, what are you doing?" he cried out in horror.
"Refining a corpse puppet."
"Your robust body is most suitable for it," Chu Xuan said, busying himself with preparing a concoction. "Soon I'll provoke your resentment, and you'll become a rigid corpse soldier." He was using a secret technique known as the Vajra corpse refining method from the corpse puppet sect. Unfortunately, the sect hadn't been very formidable and was eliminated early on by an alliance of righteous sections. Most of their heritage fell into the hands of these righteous sects, while a portion was absorbed by the Infinite Sect. Regardless of the method, the basic product of any corpse refining process was known as a corpse soldier. Higher levels included corpse general, corpse commanders, and corpse king, each corresponding to increasing cultivation stages, mirroring the levels of cultivators, with each tier divided into 9 grades. The Vajra corpse refining method focused on tempering the physical body. Zombie soldiers refined this way were impervious to blades and possessed immense strength, capable of contending with cultivators at the chi refining stage. Previously, Chu Xuan had found it challenging to perform corpse refining due to the lengthy time required and the potential for disruptions. Since he couldn't stay in one place for long, he had been forced to abandon the idea of refining corpses. Chu Xuan retrieved a large barrel from his storage bag and poured various concoctions into it. He then tossed Tang Hu, who was tightly bound, into the barrel, submerging him completely, including his head. Tang Hu's voice gradually quieted. Following this, Chu Xuan solemnly slit his palm, squeezing out 2 drops of his essence blood, and let them fall into the barrel. His complexion was noticeably paler. Essence blood was not like ordinary blood. Even though his cultivation of the blood spirit technique accelerated the condensation of essence blood, it was not something that could be replenished overnight. Now we just need to wait, Chu Xuan murmured. According to the Vajra corpse refining method, results should be visible within 3 days at most. Chu Xuan reclined on a nearby lounge chair, voraciously devouring cans of tuna he had found while hunting zombies. The cans were still within their expiration date. Damn, modern industrial food is delicious, he exclaimed. What have I been eating at the Infinite Sect? It's so bland I could cry. He sighed deeply, grateful to finally taste something befitting a human after so many years. 3 days later, Chu Xuan stood before the large barrel with a look of anticipation. He observed the figure inside, now pitch black and rigid all over, its physique noticeably bulkier than before. Bone armor had sprouted densely at the chest, joints and back, providing formidable defense. Chu Xuan tested it with a thrown dagger, which left only a superficial mark. Joy surged in his heart, knowing he had succeeded. The corpse puppet before him had attained the rank of corpse soldier, equivalent to a chi refining stage cultivator. I wonder about the quality of this corpse puppet, Chu Xuan pondered. The quality of corpse puppets was classified into 4 grades: superior, high, middle, and low. The better the concoction used in the refining process, the higher the quality of the resulting corpse puppet. A superior quality corpse puppet could master 4 spells upon creation, a high quality 3, a middle quality 2, and a low quality only 1. Back when Chu Xuan was still with the Infinite Sect, he had heard of a golden core elder who, during his chi refining stage, had fortuitously refined a superior quality corpse puppet that knew 4 spells from birth. It was with this corpse puppet's aid that the elder gradually ascended the path of cultivation and eventually reached the golden core stage. Chu Xuan retrieved a small, dark tower known as the Corpse Nurturing Tower. This magic tool was specifically designed for capturing and cultivating corpses. Each corpse nurturing tower came equipped with a spell to assess the quality and level of a corpse. Chu Xuan's tower, acquired at a low price from a disheartened middle-aged disciple, was merely a low-grade magic tool. It possessed no offensive or defensive capabilities, serving solely to nurture corpses. He had always carried it with him, prepared for any eventuality. Now was the time to use it. At the thought, Chu Xuan absorbed the newly formed corpse soldier into the corpse nurturing tower. Inside, the abundant yin qi invigorated the corpse, which eagerly absorbed it in deep gulps. Chu Xuan infused a thread of spiritual qi to activate the appraisal technique. A beam of black light illuminated the corpse, and a flicker of golden light emerged from its crown. Chu Xuan was surprised. A middle-grade second-level corpse soldier? Not bad at all. For his first attempt at corpse refining, using rather ordinary concoctions, he had managed to create a middle-grade corpse, a stroke of luck indeed. He continued using the appraisal technique and quickly learned the 2 spells the corpse puppet possessed: Bloodthirst technique and Golden Light spell. The Bloodthirst technique allowed it to enter a berserk state, significantly boosting its combat capabilities but only for a quarter of an hour. Afterward, it would fall into a state of weakness for 10 hours. The Golden Light spell, as its name suggested, coated the user in a protective golden light, enhancing its defenses. Together, these spells made the zombie a perfect tank. Though it was only a second-level corpse soldier, equivalent to a chi refining second-stage cultivator, the combined effects of its spells could likely allow it to contend with a 4th-stage chi refining cultivator for a short time. Whether used as a decoy to attract enemy fire or as a protective measure in dangerous situations, it was exceedingly useful. Chu Xuan felt a rush of satisfaction. This apocalyptic planet truly was a splendid place. In just 3 days, he had already acquired a corpse soldier as his trump card, effectively doubling his strength compared to 3 days ago. Pity the materials for refining corpse puppets are rare, otherwise I would definitely refine another one, Chu Xuan mused, smacking his lips. With a casual wave of his hand, the obedient corpse soldier approached and awaited his commands. This was the benefit of the 2 drops of essence blood he had added to the concoction. As long as the corpse puppet was well fed, it would faithfully follow his commands without turning against him. A second-level corpse soldier should have no trouble sweeping through this mall, Chu Xuan declared.
It's all yours.
With a dismissive wave, he reclined comfortably back on the lounge chair. The corpse soldier growled and dashed out. Almost immediately, the mall echoed with terrifying roars and the sound of flesh being torn apart, followed by the clanging of objects being smashed. Chu Xuan, unfazed, continued enjoying his canned food while leisurely flipping through ancient texts. After all, isn't the essence of being a demonic cultivator to live freely and at ease? In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed, and Chu Xuan was heartily devouring a steaming bowl of shrimp and fish cake noodles, thoroughly enjoying the indulgence. Instant noodles could grow tiresome if eaten daily, yet their unique flavor was missed when not partaken for a while. For Chu Xuan, who had spent decades in a world of cultivation, these flavors were sorely nostalgic. At that moment, a fire burned vigorously in front of him. After quickly finishing his noodles, Chu Xuan used 2 sticks to retrieve an object from the dying embers, the blood mirror, which showed no signs of damage from the flames and seemed even brighter than before. Chu Xuan glanced at the scene within the mirror. Clear skies and beautiful landscapes, exactly where he had first crossed over. Now, the image was a fifth brighter. Once fully illuminated, he should be able to cross back. He had discovered that the blood mirror could automatically absorb various forms of energy from its surroundings: spiritual qi, evil qi, yin qi, and even mundane energy like biological, thermal, light, and electrical energies. Throwing the mirror into the fire had been a way to harness thermal energy. At this rate, another month should suffice to fully charge it. Meanwhile, an excited growl sounded nearby. It was the corpse soldier, now named Hu, returning with 2 gasoline cans. He had been out hunting zombies and had also been tasked with finding fuel. Initially struggling with the task, Hu had gradually come to understand and execute his instructions effectively. Chu Xuan looked at Hu, now even more formidable and robust than before, and nodded in satisfaction.
Well done.
At his praise, the corpse puppet humbly lowered its head, allowing Chu Xuan to pat it. The name Hu was the result of deep contemplation by Chu Xuan, certainly not a hasty choice derived from any original name.
Absolutely not.
In just 2 days, Hu had cleared all the zombies from the Walmart mall. Those that looked healthy and spirited were captured and bled dry. The ones with good meat quality were used as feed for the blood steel wire. The listless, less lively ones became nourishment for Hu himself. From the 3rd day, Hu started clearing the zombies from the surrounding shops and residences, using the mall as his base. Over 5 days, he had progressed from a 2nd level to a 3rd level corpse soldier. Although still only comparable to a 3rd stage qi refining cultivator in rank, Hu's sheer physical strength and overwhelming resentment meant that any low-level cultivator without many spells who got too close would likely end up dead or severely injured. What should I do with you? A bit early for you to be forming cocoons. Chu Xuan smiled helplessly as he observed the blood steel wire appearing lethargic, perhaps due to consuming too much zombie blood. Just this morning, he had awakened to find it showing signs of cocooning, a process indicating that the blood steel wire was about to learn a natural spell and significantly increase in strength. This was excellent news for him. The blood steel wire was a type of goo insect relatively easy to obtain, which meant its potential was somewhat limited. It could cocoon only twice. Each cocooning was akin to rebirth, earning it the nickname Twice Reborn Goo, capable of learning 2 inherent spells. Naturally, the potential of a goo insect wasn't fixed. Given fortuitous encounters with certain rare natural treasures and consuming them could prompt further transformations. Chu Xuan's frustration stemmed from not yet having started cultivating such rare natural treasures. Go capture a couple of lively zombies, he commanded with a wave of his hand. The corpse soldier roared enthusiastically and leapt away, vanishing from sight. In less than 10 minutes, it reappeared, each of its robust arms clutching a fiercely struggling spirited zombie. Chu Xuan nodded approvingly. Gag them, tie them up, and throw them in the corner. The corpse soldier clumsily followed the orders but soon had the zombies secured. Striding over, Chu Xuan pulled out a small knife and began to carve blood holes into the limbs and torsos of the captured zombies. He then retrieved a cultivation pouch from his storage bag and filled it with tiny red seeds, which upon contacting the flesh, quickly took root. Within the blink of an eye, they sprouted 1 centimeter long tender red shoots with sharp triangular leaves, a sinister crimson that fluttered in the breeze like the fangs of a demonic beast, a chilling sight. These mystical plants were known as blood-fiend fangs. They thrived on flesh and blood rather than spiritual qi. It would take a month for them to bloom and bear fruit, the blood-fong fruit, which was precisely what the blood steel wire needed for its cocooning. Consuming these fruits would significantly enhance its speed and strength, and potentially allow it to learn an exceptional natural spell. The more blood-fong fruits consumed, the higher the likelihood of acquiring a superior natural spell. Armed with years of dedicated study of the Gu scriptures, Chu Xuan was intimately familiar with these details and prepared to leverage this knowledge to its fullest. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Thanks to the generous and unwitting contribution of the surrounding zombies, Chu Xuan's cultivation had smoothly advanced to the 6th level of qi refining. Hu, too, had progressed admirably, reaching the 5th level of corpse soldier. Finally matured, Chu Xuan remarked with a smile as he approached the two zombies, now barely more than husks. The branches of the bloodfiend fangs bore heavy fruit. Over the month, Chu Xuan had fed the zombies chunks of zombie meat every other day to keep them alive, ensuring a continuous supply of nutrients for the bloodfiend fangs. Still, the zombies were now withered and emaciated, their flesh thoroughly drained by the plants. Chu Xuan quickly harvested the bloodfang fruit, leaving the desiccated corpse puppets for Hu to utilize as a scrappy lunch. Hu munched happily on the side. Chu Xuan examined the 10 thumb-sized bloodfang fruits in his palm with amazement. Back when the Infinite Sect was still in existence, there had been specialists within the sect who cultivated these fruits. However, they were exorbitantly priced, costing 20 sect contribution points each, equivalent to at least 80 small spiritual stones. He hadn't had many spiritual stones back then and certainly couldn't afford to buy bloodfang fruits. But now these fruits, worth a total of 800 small spiritual stones, lay quietly in his palm, a fortune far exceeding anything he had owned in the past. A never-ending supply of resources, indeed a splendid place, Chu Xuan mused, feeling sentimental as he brought the bloodfang fruits to Bloodsteel Wire's mouth. With a few eager swallows, Bloodsteel Wire consumed all 10 fruits and then settled into a deep slumber. No matter how Chu Xuan prodded, it remained motionless, its surface soon enveloped by a reddish-brown blood cocoon. Clearly, it had begun its true transformation. In no more than 10 days, Bloodsteel Wire will emerge from its cocoon, transformed into a once-reborn Gu with its own innate spells. Chu Xuan pondered the future. By then, I should also consider returning to see about replenishing spiritual plant seeds and exchanging some spiritual stones for setting up formations. Looks like it's time to see if I can glean some resources from my senior brothers, Chu Xuan thought, eyeing the hundreds of blood pearls in his storage bag. These were the results of his daily practice of the blood refinement technique on zombie blood. Blood pearls were a significant tonic for cultivation, an irresistible temptation for any demonic cultivator. 10 days later, the Bloodsteel Wire successfully emerged from its cocoon. Chu Xuan inspected it closely and noticed that after its transformation, it had grown larger and its outer skin had become even tougher. He casually picked up an iron rod and with a flick of his hand, the Bloodsteel Wire shot out, slicing the rod into two with ease. Chu Xuan nodded in approval. "Let's see what innate spell you've acquired," he said, prompting the Bloodsteel Wire with a thought. Instantly, the wire shot forward, binding Hu, tightening so fiercely that even Hu's colossal strength couldn't break free. "Blood binding!" Chu Xuan exclaimed, recognizing the control-type spell. It was one of the best possible spells the Bloodsteel Wire could have learned after its transformation. Originally, the wire wasn't known for its strength or lethal capabilities but rather for its defensive talents. Chu Xuan hadn't expected it to become an offensive powerhouse. The acquisition of the blood binding was exactly what he had hoped for. His skill tree had evolved correctly. "Alright, that's enough, come back," Chu Xuan said with a smile, and the Bloodsteel Wire swiftly returned to rest in the palm of his hand. Hu, now wary of another binding, kept a respectful distance, fearful of being ensnared once again. Chu Xuan affectionately patted the small head of the Bloodsteel Wire, pleased with its performance. "It's been almost 2 months since I arrived on this planet," he mused. "I've used up all the corpse puppet refining materials I had, and I need to return to the Mystic Azure Realm to gather more." He contemplated further strategies. It would be wise to refine a few more corpse soldiers. After I leave this place, I should have several to guard this area. Additionally, he considered the possibility of acquiring a set of array discs and flags for the blood refining array, a formation ideally suited for demonic cultivators to perform large-scale blood sacrifices. The simplest blood refining array could even be managed by a qi refining stage cultivator, while more advanced versions required deeper knowledge in array formations. Chu Xuan recalled that the leader of the corpse puppet sect had once used a city's worth of 300,000 souls to perform a soul-stealing blood refining array, creating a powerful blood pearl. Consumed by the sect's young master, it dramatically accelerated his cultivation. Qi refining in a day, foundation establishment within 100 days, reaching the 9th level in just 3 years. A prodigy who overshadowed even the most talented cultivators at the foundation establishment stage. However, such grievous acts did not go unnoticed and soon brought destruction upon the corpse puppet sect from the 5 major righteous sects. If I could deploy a blood refining array here on this planet, Chu Xuan thought, my cultivation would skyrocket. While reaching the foundation establishment within 100 days was perhaps an exaggeration, doing so within a year seemed entirely feasible. After having Hu tidy up the area, Chu Xuan went to the rooftop of the Walmart mall to activate the blood mirror. After months away, it's finally time to go back. Chu Xuan's face was marked by a wistful expression, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. The last time he had left, he was merely at the 4th level of qi refining, and his only possession had been a single blood steel wire. In less than 2 months, he had advanced to the 6th level, his blood steel wire had undergone its first transformation, and he now commanded a 5th level corp soldier. With such combat prowess, he could easily crush cultivators at the 7th level of qi refining and even had a 70 to 80% chance of victory against those at the 8th level. Chu Xuan took a deep breath and connected his thoughts to the blood mirror. In the blink of an eye, he was absorbed into the mirror. To any onlooker, it would appear as if he had vanished into thin air, evaporated from the mortal realm. In East Lake City, Haotai Hotel once ranked among the finest hotels in the city. Several years after the zombie outbreak, it had become the stronghold of the Spirit Hounds gang. Atop the highest floor of the Haotai Hotel, a lean, dark-skinned man lay on a sun lounger on the rooftop, soaking up the sunlight. This was Zhao Hong, the leader of the Spirit Hounds gang. Flanking him were 2 voluptuous women who were carefully massaging his legs and shoulders. In a nearby cage, a formidable black-backed wolfhound sat coiled. Even in a sitting position, it measured over 3 meters in length, its physique more robust than a bull. Menacing light flickered in its eyes, and drool flowed from its mouth, indicating its hunger. Beneath the lounger, a burly man knelt trembling, barely daring to breathe loudly. Zhao Hong rolled over and said calmly, "Ling Tao, you assured me that you would find out how Tang Hu disappeared within half a month. It's nearly 2 months now." Ling Tao hurriedly spoke, "Boss, brother who disappeared at the Walmart mall, which has become very dangerous, possibly due to the emergence of high-level zombies. I've lost 2 men already who were sent to scout the area. Boss, you can't blame me. I never imagined that high-level zombies would be there." Ling Tao crawled closer to Zhao Hong, clutching at his legs and weeping bitterly, "Only you can handle a high-level zombie, boss." Zhao Hong sat up slightly and reached out to gently caress Ling Tao's face, smiling slightly, "It's not your fault, nobody knew there would be high-level zombies there." Ling Tao was deeply moved, "Thank you, boss."
Thank you.
"Feed Dahe for me, he's been hungry for a long time," Zhao Hong said casually. "Yes, yes." Ling Tao hurriedly walked to the side, fetched a large bag of dog food, and was about to pour it into that wolf dog's food bowl. The black-backed wolf dog remained utterly still, drool streaming freely from its mouth. Zhao Hong snapped his fingers crisply, "Dahe, eat." With a howl, the wolf dog burst forth from the iron cage, clamping its jaws around Ling Tao's arms. A sharp crack resounded as Ling Tao's arms broke cleanly at the elbows, blood spurting wildly.
Boss."
Ling Tao screamed in agony, the severe pain of losing his arms clouding his ability to think. Zhao Hong frowned, "How many times must I say it? Kill by crushing the windpipe directly, don't make such a bloody mess." The wolf dog, silent, sprang forward in a swift motion and severed Ling Tao's throat with its teeth, finally indulging in its feast. Zhao Hong's expression turned to one of satisfaction. The 2 women by his side had already lost control, nearly collapsing to the ground. "No need to worry. With your slender arms and legs, Dahe couldn't possibly be satisfied," Zhao Hong sneered casually. Upon hearing this, the 2 women fainted in fright. Zhao Hong nonchalantly pressed a nearby bell.
Ding ding ding.
Soon, a burly man hurried up from downstairs. He bowed respectfully, careful not to stare at the wolf dog reveling in its meal. "Boss, what do you need?" Zhao Hong offhandedly said, "Bring Daho and Erho, get the car and head to the Walmart." "Right away, sir," the burly man nodded respectfully. Moments later, outside the Haotai Hotel, 2 strong men struggled to push open the grand doors. A van sped away, its entirety reinforced with sturdy iron mesh. Spikes of steel adorned the front and roof. As it moved, ordinary zombies were simply flung aside. Unless it met tens of thousands of zombies, it was the most dazzling presence on the streets. The Haotai Hotel was a mere 3 kilometers from the Walmart. Yet, this journey was no longer through a society with flowing traffic, but rather through a city at the end of the day, overrun with zombies. The streets were cluttered with abandoned vehicles and toppled billboards, and the path was anything but clear, fraught with myriad obstacles. It took a van a full 2 hours to finally reach the supermarket. The car door swung open with a whoosh. Zhao Hong alighted swiftly, followed by 3 dogs, Dahe, Daho and Erho, the most loyal, cunning and ferocious of his spirit hounds. Zhao Hong cast a skeptical glance around. His vision and hearing, far superior to that of ordinary men, easily discerned something unsettling near the supermarket, an eerie quietude, devoid of even the faintest growl of zombies, with only the occasional scurrying of rats. He was no stranger to territories ruled by high-level zombies, but such desolation and silence were unprecedented. "Let's go in and have a look," he suggested, pointing towards the Walmart supermarket. At his command, the spirit hounds growled softly and advanced into the supermarket via 3 different paths. Shortly after, their howls echoed through the building. Zhao Hong furrowed his brow. Experienced in the nuances of canine sounds from his days in the dog business, he knew these barks signaled no danger. "Leave someone with the car, and come up with me," he said casually. "Yes," replied a sturdy man, stepping out of the car with bolstered courage to lead the way. Soon, Zhao Hong and his companion reached the 5th floor of the supermarket unimpeded. The scene before him made his heart skip a beat. 5 years had passed since the outbreak of the zombies, and he had grown accustomed to sights of gore. However, this bizarre spectacle was new to him. Throughout the supermarket, from the 1st to the 5th floor, were scattered bits and pieces of zombie flesh. It was the height of summer when flies should swarm, yet none dared approach this place. The sight on the 5th floor was particularly dreadful. Several large bathtubs lay there, each containing only a layer of dried black-red blood filled with impurities. In a nearby corner, 2 desiccated, emaciated zombies lay, their bodies riddled with holes from which red plants sprouted, though now these plants were all dead, having seemingly sucked dry all the nutrients from the zombies. A tightness gripped Zhao Hong's chest at this chilling discovery. "Boss, what should we do now?" The stalwart man beside him trembled visibly.
Are you cold?
Zhao Hong suddenly asked. The man shivered. "Cold, very cold. The temperature here is very low." A sense of dread inexplicably rose in Zhao Hong's heart. The outside temperature was at least 30 degrees. Yet, inside the Walmart, he felt chilled to the bone. This was utterly abnormal. Zhao Hong knew well that one must not linger in places that defy normalcy.
Let's go.
He dared not stay any longer and turned to leave. Once back in the car, he slowly regained his composure. "Did you bring gasoline?" Zhao Hong, lighting a cigarette and exhaling rings of smoke, suddenly asked.
Yes, boss.
"Your orders?"
Both men nodded.
"Burn this shit place down," Zhao Hong said calmly.
Yes.
Moments later, thick, black smoke billowed above the Walmart. The piercing chill seemed to dissipate with the flames. Zhao Hong's anxiety finally eased. "Let's go back." He casually flicked his unfinished cigarette out of the car window, propped up his legs, and said. The van started again and soon vanished into the streets. In the lush forests outside Green River City of U Country, the empty space suddenly twisted. In the blink of an eye, a figure appeared out of nowhere, startling the birds atop the trees and scaring away the squirrels on the branches. "I'm back." Chu Xuan surveyed his surroundings, took a deep breath, and smiled. The air here was filled with spiritual qi, far fresher than that of the apocalyptic planet. "First, I need to do is ascertain whether the flow of time is consistent between the two realms," he mused. "The second task is to acquire materials for corpse refinement and seeds for numerous spiritual plants. The third matter is to locate the covert trading hubs of demonic cultivators from the Infinite Sect and the Corpse Puppet Sect, to purchase the blood refining array." Having formulated his plan, Chu Xuan immediately donned a human skin mask and transformed his appearance from a stern-looking young man to a formidable, bald-headed fellow. Although facial transformation was considered an unconventional art, Chu Xuan had escaped many perils using it. Now, disguising himself had become second nature. "I recall that 300 miles south of Green River City, there is a canyon rich in spiritual qi, where a marketplace is situated," Chu Xuan mused. He drew forth a flying sword and set off toward the south of Green River City. This flying sword, a lower-grade flying magical tool, traveled at a speed of 300 miles per hour, consuming one small spiritual stone for every 1,000 miles traveled. It was a second-hand magical tool he had once purchased from the Infinite Sect. Both its speed and consumption were mediocre. Should he acquire surplus spirit stones in the future, he certainly intended to invest in a superior flying magical tool. An hour later, Chu Xuan arrived at the marketplace. "Peace Market," he announced as he strode into the market. 1,000 miles further south of Peace Market lay the mountain gate of the Divine Star Sect, one of the 5 major orthodox sects of U Country. Naturally, the small marketplace was not directly controlled by the Divine Star Sect but was managed by cultivating families under the sect, mostly established by Foundation establishment stage cultivators from the Divine Star Sect who had little hope of advancing. Offspring born into these families, once identified as having spiritual roots, were immediately sent to the Divine Star Sect for cultivation, thereby strengthening their families. Peace Market was controlled by the Wu family, whose patriarch was a nearly 200-year-old Foundation establishment stage cultivator. The cultivators who came here to sell and trade were mostly at the initial or middle stages of qi refining. Even those at the later stages were rare. Chu Xuan was well aware of all this intelligence before he arrived. As a demon cultivator often targeted by others, Venturing blindly into unknown territories without such information could lead to dire consequences. Upon arriving at Peace Market, Chu Xuan did not rush to purchase the items he needed. Cultivators, with their extended lifespans, knew well how to overcharge newcomers. His unfamiliar face appearing for the first time would surely prompt the sellers to inflate their prices. Thus, he decided to stay for a few days. For the initial days, he adopted a strategy of looking much and buying nothing. Chu Xuan found a tea house catering to cultivators, ordered a pot of spiritual tea, and sat quietly sipping, listening to the conversations around him. Cultivator discussions were not like those of ordinary people, who speak without restraint. Some were quite cautious, even using spiritual qi to mask their speech. As a qi refining stage cultivator, eavesdropping on others' conversations was challenging, but Chu Xuan had a unique advantage. Each of his ears harbored a listening insect. These tiny creatures amplified his hearing, allowing him to catch much of what was said around him. Chu Xuan's ears twitched, and he glanced towards a nearby table where two qi refining stage cultivators were sitting opposite each other. The lean cultivator inquired, "Fellow Taoist, are there any bounty tasks in Peace Market? I'm a bit short on spiritual stones." The burly cultivator replied, "Yes, there's one helping the Divine Star Sect find remnants of the Infinite Sect. Finding one yields 300 small spiritual stones. By the way, Elder Sun from the Divine Star Sect mentioned that if anyone finds Chu Xuan from the Infinite Sect, who is at the Qi refining stage, they'll give 400 small spiritual stones. Still not found? It's been 6 days already. That guy is as slippery as an eel, not so easy to catch. Elder Sun once led a group of Qi refining disciples in a surround, and he still managed to escape. I heard he's only at the 4th level of Qi refining. I could easily crush him in a one-on-one fight.
Don't underestimate him.
I've heard that although Chu Xuan has mediocre talent, he's a master of poisons and goo insects. 2 cultivators at the 5th level of Qi refining from the Divine Star Sect have already fallen to him. Maybe I should change my target then, he's too slippery to catch. Ha, just say you're scared. The lean cultivator's face reddened, veins bulging on his forehead as he retorted, "Nonsense. Those who wish to tread the way of cultivation must be alive. How can a cultivator be called fearful?" What followed was a series of profound utterances about the way of caution, and seeking fortune and avoiding disaster, prompting laughter from the burly cultivator. The atmosphere around was filled with mirth. Chu Xuan, overhearing this, wore a bizarre expression.
6 days.
It had been only 6 days since he killed He Liang and escaped the encirclement of the Divine Star Sect cultivators. By such estimates, the time-flow ratio between the Mystic Azure Realm and the apocalyptic planet was about 1 to 10. That meant, in the eyes of the cultivators here, he had advanced from the 4th to the 6th level of Qi refining in just 6 days, a miraculous feat of cultivation. Even daily immersion in medicinal baths couldn't achieve such rapid progress. Blood mirror, truly a precious treasure. Chu Xuan sipped his tea broadly smiling.
2 more days passed.
Chu Xuan had thoroughly explored Peace Market, becoming familiar with every stall owner. Only then did he approach a large shop. 100 Herbs Pavilion, specializing in spiritual plants. After comparing several shops, Chu Xuan found this one to offer the best value for money. Before long, he walked out of 100 Herbs Pavilion, satisfied with the variety of spiritual plant seeds he had purchased. He also mixed in some materials for corpse refining. The shopkeeper, seeing his substantial purchases, even threw in some extras. Chu Xuan wondered if the shopkeeper would have recoiled in horror and retracted the gifts had he known he was dealing with a demon cultivator. After acquiring various items, Chu Xuan made his way to a nondescript stall in the marketplace with practiced ease. Setting up a stall here was straightforward. Just spread a cloth on the ground and lay out the wares. Those who were more particular might use a wooden sign to mark prices next to their items. The goods on this stall were nothing special, hardly worth a second glance, except for a withered white herb that caught Chu Xuan's eye.
Bone grass.
This spiritual plant demanded extremely harsh growing conditions. It thrived only in the burial bone cave of the Infinite Sect, withering immediately if transplanted elsewhere. After the fall of the Infinite Sect, its disciples scattered, and Chu Xuan agreed on secret signs and tokens with a few close peers for future contact. Bone grass was one of these tokens. Chu Xuan squatted down in front of the stall owner, picking up one item, then another. The stall owner, an experienced cultivator, quickly grew impatient. "Buy if you're going to buy, otherwise get lost and stop touching everything." Chu Xuan picked up a fruit and smiled, "Fellow Taoist, how much for this pool dragon fruit?" The stall owner replied nonchalantly, 2 small spiritual stones each. Chu Xuan smiled slightly, "Is the skin made of gold, or is it the flesh?" The stall owner paused, then shook his head, "There are no pool dragon fruits around anymore. These I picked up from the ruins after the Infinite Sect was gone." If you think it's expensive, so do I. Chu Xuan's smile widened. Are these fruits guaranteed ripe? The stall owner's eyes brightened. These are of average quality, but if you're willing to pay a higher price, I have better ones. Chu Xuan nodded. Good, lead the way. The stall owner quickly packed up his worn cloth and items into his storage bag and led Chu Xuan away. Although Chu Xuan followed, he remained alert, watching and listening to everything around them. The two left Peace Market and soon reached a secluded spot under some trees. The experienced cultivator lowered his voice. Which senior brother are you? Chu Xuan replied calmly, He Liang.
The cultivator was startled. He Liang?
That traitor has been dead for a while. Chu Xuan then relaxed and nodded. Chu Xuan. The older cultivator became excited. Senior brother Chu. Is it really you? Chu Xuan nodded slightly. And you are? The cultivator took a deep breath and quickly said, Qin Gu, I entered the Infinite Sect in the same batch as you. This token and password were taught to me by senior brother Wei Hua.
Chu Xuan nodded.
Wei Hua, ranked 12th among the inner disciples, had always been on good terms with him. How is Wei Hua doing? Chu Xuan asked casually. Qin Gu spoke softly. Senior brother Wei is still recovering from his injuries, and Uncle Master Lu and the others are all at the Wu family. Chu Xuan chuckled silently. Among the Foundation establishment stage cultivators of the Infinite Sect, only one bore the surname Lu, Lu Zhenxiong. Uncle Master Lu referred to Lu Zhenxiong himself. Unexpectedly, these Infinite Sect cultivators were residing directly within the Wu family's territory. No wonder the Divine Star Sect had been unable to find them. They would never have imagined that right under their noses was the perfect hiding spot for demon cultivators. Qin Gu earnestly said, Senior brother Chu, why don't you join us? We, the cultivators of the Infinite Sect, must stick together to survive. Chu Xuan shook his head. Having many people makes us a big target. I just came to buy some items. Qin Gu appeared somewhat disappointed, but he nodded. What are you looking to buy, senior brother? The blood refining array. Qin Gu was surprised. The blood refining array? What do you need that for? The 5 righteous sects are currently cracking down on any killings of mortals. You might barely activate the blood refining array before the righteous cultivators come knocking. Chu Xuan just smiled. Do you have it? Qin Gu nodded. I remember senior brother Wei has one, and it can be bought for a medium spiritual stone. Here's what we'll do. You wait outside the Wu family, and I'll get the item for you. Chu Xuan gave a slight nod. The two approached the Wu family's location quickly. Established in a valley rich in spiritual qi, with buildings every few steps, a veritable small kingdom, the Wu family's estate was formidable. Chu Xuan stopped at a distance and tossed over a low-grade storage bag. This contains 1 medium spiritual stone for the blood refining array. Additionally, there are 30 blood pearls. Exchange them for spiritual stones at the old rate. Qin Gu, delighted by the offer, quickly accepted. Great, we are currently in need of blood pearls. He promptly stored the items. Please wait here, senior brother, I will be back shortly. With that, he hurried towards the Wu family estate. Chu Xuan didn't linger at the original spot but immediately left, climbing up a nearby hill and hiding behind rocks. In such times, betrayal could come from anyone. The only person he could truly trust was himself. Soon after, Qin Gu briskly walked out of the Wu family residence and returned to the original spot under the trees. However, there was no sign of Chu Xuan, and he couldn't help but look puzzled. Chu Xuan did not reveal himself immediately but carefully observed his surroundings and listened for any slight sound. Growing anxious, Qin Gu called out in a low voice, Senior brother Chu, where are you? After waiting a while longer, Chu Xuan finally showed himself, causing Qin Gu to sigh in relief. He quickly understood why Chu Xuan had chosen to leave the original spot. Few demon cultivators who had survived the pursuit of the 5 orthodox sects were foolish enough to easily trust others. Without much ado, Qin Gu pulled a formation plate and flags from his storage bag and handed them over. Chu Xuan examined them briefly and nodded slightly. This was indeed the blood refining array. The basic version of the array was just a mid-grade magical tool, manageable even by qi refining stage cultivators. However, stacking additional layers to create complex formations like the soul-stealing blood refining array or the evil condensation blood refining array would catapult it into the realm of treasures, controllable only by golden core stage cultivators. The difficulty of setup and the materials required would increase 100-fold. Senior brother Chu, are you sure you won't join us? Qin Gu couldn't help but ask again. Uncle Master Lu has been very good to us. When we last retreated to the Wu family estate, he covered our retreat.
Chu Xuan shook his head. No.
He then turned and left, showing no interest in lingering. The remnants of the Infinite Sect were thorns in the sides of the orthodox sects, and being associated with Lu Zhenxiong, though seemingly an advantage, actually painted a bigger target on their backs. If danger came, Lu Jinxiong might escape, but Qi refining stage cultivators like himself would not have it so easy. He couldn't entrust his life to others. With the blood refining array in hand, Chu Xuan felt a surge of relief. His next task was to find a safe place to fully charge the blood mirror. Once he returned to the apocalyptic planet, he would set up the blood refining array and rapidly advance his cultivation. However, just over 20 miles away from the Wu family, Chu Xuan sensed something amiss. Indeed, several streaks of light appeared, swiftly blocking his path on both sides. 3 figures emerged, clad in snow-white robes with gold sword-shaped embroidery at the collar and sleeves, a uniform that Chu Xuan recognized all too well. They were Qi refining stage disciples of the Divine Star Sect. "What brings the 3 of you here?" Chu Xuan asked, his face clouded with confusion. The trio scrutinized him briefly. The middle-aged cultivator at the forefront spoke calmly. "By the command of Uncle Master Sun, it has been decreed that no one may enter or exit within 50 miles of the Wu family estate, lest remnants of the Infinite Sect are harbored therein." Chu Xuan feigned astonishment, exclaiming, "Remnants of the Infinite Sect? But I am merely an honest loose cultivator." The middle-aged cultivator replied impatiently, "I care not whether you're a loose or a demon cultivator. Today, no one shall pass this junction. If you value your life, stay put. Once Uncle Master Sun has ascertained that the Wu family harbors no affiliations with the Infinite Sect, you, being uninvolved, shall remain unharmed." With a placating smile, Chu Xuan nodded vigorously, very well, I am willing to cooperate." Seeing his submissive demeanor, the middle-aged cultivator smirked arrogantly. "That's right, loose cultivators like you ought to obey." Chu Xuan gave an awkward smile. Just then, 2 streaks of light shot across the sky at a breathtaking speed. Lifting an eyebrow, Chu Xuan ventured, "Could that be the esteemed Sun Shi of your sect?" With a sly chuckle, the middle-aged cultivator confirmed, "Indeed. With 2 Foundation Establishment stage Uncle Masters stepping forward, they will surely turn the Wu estate inside out."
Chu Xuan nodded.
Sun Shi was the very person who had led the encirclement against him in Green River City. He remembered it vividly. Had he not been cautious and disguised himself with He Liang's face, he might well have been a corpse by now. Suddenly, Chu Xuan spoke up, "Just the 3 of you? If there truly are remnants of the Infinite Sect within the Wu estate, can you 3 manage to hold this position?" The cultivator scoffed, "The remnants of the Infinite Sect are but defeated soldiers. The 3 of us possess at least the strength of the 5th level of Qi refining, ample to guard this pass and stop any Qi refining stage demonic cultivators. As for any Foundation Establishment stage demonic cultivators, they shall be dealt with by Uncle Master Sun and the others."
Chu Xuan nodded again.
The next moment, he suddenly pointed behind the middle-aged cultivator and cried out in alarm, "Watch out!" Startled, the cultivator thought an attack from the Infinite Sect was coming from behind. He swiftly turned around, readying his magical tool for defense. The other 2 cultivators did likewise, spinning around in alarm. However, there was nothing behind them, no sign of any Infinite Sect demonic cultivators. A ghastly roar then tore through the air. One of the Divine Star Sect disciples grimaced in agony as he looked down to discover his chest grotesquely torn open by a dark, formidable claw, his heart gruesomely excavated. The other disciple reacted swiftly, creating distance before immediately directing his heavenly star sword at Chu Xuan. Every disciple of the Qi refining stage at the Divine Star Sect was issued such a sword, a standard armament. However, this disciple's swordsmanship was evidently lackluster. The heavenly star sword zigzagged clumsily towards Chu Xuan, slow as an elderly man. Chu Xuan did not even need to make a move himself, who charged forward in a flash and sent the sword flying with a sharp clang. The corpse's claw, swift as lightning, slashed across the neck of the cultivator in an instant. Blood spurted dramatically as a head was severed cleanly, its eyes still wide with confusion. The middle-aged cultivator reacted more quickly, immediately summoning a small shield for protection. However, a streak of blood had already traced across Chu Xuan's palm. Sensing danger, the cultivator attempted to dodge, but his speed was no match for the blood-steel wire. With a crisp snap, his right arm was severed cleanly at the root. The shield clattered to the ground as blood gushed forth like a fountain. The middle-aged cultivator screamed in agony and staggered back in terror, but Chu Xuan gave him no chance for recovery. Once again, he manipulated the blood-steel wire, while Hu pounced fiercely from behind. Caught between attacks from front and back, he stood no chance. His heart was pierced by Hu, and his throat was slit by the blood-steel wire, culminating in his immediate death. This scene, though described slowly, occurred in the blink of an eye. Within mere moments, 3 Qi refining stage cultivators were slain by Chu Xuan. Exhaling a heavy breath, Chu Xuan felt invigorated. Even he had not anticipated such an enhancement in his strength. His opponents were 3 Qi refining stage cultivators, all at least at the 5th level of Qi refining, with a middle-aged leader at the 7th level, higher than himself. Yet now, they had been effortlessly dispatched by him. There's no time to linger. Quickly, Chu Xuan collected the storage bags and magic tools from the three, then vanished into the vast wilderness. He chose not to use a flying magical tool, which would make him too conspicuous, opting instead to travel on foot. Elsewhere, within the Wu family estate, a courtyard held a figure of formidable stature seated in meditation on a daybed. This cultivator, who bore a wound on his left arm wrapped in lingering sword energy that refused to dissipate, occasionally grimaced in pain. He was Lu Jinxiong, a Foundation establishment stage cultivator of the Infinite Sect and the direct disciple of the Third Elder. At a certain moment, his eyes snapped open, a glint of cold light flashing through them. Have the Divine Star Sect's people arrived? Pulling out a token and channeling spiritual chi into it, he called out in a low voice, "Disciples of the Infinite Sect, gather to me." The token not only identified one's affiliation but also carried the capability to transmit messages, though this function was limited to a range of no more than 1,000 li. Upon hearing his summons, Chen Gu Wei Hua and other disciples promptly converged at the small courtyard, quickly swelling the numbers to over a dozen Qi refining stage cultivators. Lu Jinxiong spoke in an undertone, "2 Foundation establishment stage cultivators from the Divine Star Sect have appeared, likely targeting me." The disciples gasped in alarm. Lu Jinxiong continued gravely, "Su Ming and Bai Feng, you two are the strongest among the Qi refining stage disciples present. Take half of the disciples each and leave separately. I will stay behind momentarily to cover your retreat." Touched by his dedication, the disciples immediately accepted the command, "Yes." Qin Gu and Wei Hua were among those assigned to Su Ming's group. As they gathered their belongings, Chen Gu suddenly tensed, recalling something. Senior brother Chu just purchased the blood refining array and left not long ago. He wouldn't have run into the Divine Star Sect's cultivators, would he? Wei Hua sighed softly, hard to say. Let's hope he's lucky enough to avoid them. Su Ming scoffed. Wasn't he the one worried about being a large target and reluctant to follow Uncle Master Lu? Why worry about him? If he's dead, what does it matter to us? Frowning, Wei Hua rebuked, "Su Ming, we're all in the same boat now, we should be pulling together. Why hold such a grudge against Chu Xuan, especially at a time like this?" Su Ming snorted dismissively, "My issues with him are none of your business. Didn't you hear what Uncle Master Lu just said? I'm leading this group." Wei Hua clenched his teeth but remained silent. Back when the Infinite Sect was still intact, Su Ming often competed with Chu Xuan for the 10th rank within the inner disciples, a position that could attract the attention of the elders for potential direct discipleship. Although Su Ming was slightly higher in cultivation level, he consistently lacked the strength to best Chu Xuan and remained perpetually one rank below him at 11th, fueling his resentment. This backstory was well known to Chen Gu Wei Hua and others. Bai Feng and his group will head towards Wind-Flowing Mountain through the east side gate, Su Ming spoke calmly. We will take the west side gate, circle past Red Lake, and hide in White Ray Mountain. As a demonic cultivator who had survived to this point, Su Ming was no fool. Upon arriving at the Wu family estate, he had anticipated that righteous cultivators might someday come knocking, and he had prepared escape plans accordingly. Wind-Flowing Mountain and White Ray Mountain were among the most remote and densely wooded areas in Green River Prefecture. Even if the Divine Star Sect cultivators mobilized extensive manpower, it would take them months to find any trace of them in these mountains. Of course, if a Golden Core stage cultivator from the Divine Star Sect were to intervene, using their spiritual sense could instantly reveal every detail within the entire mountain range, leaving no place to hide. In such cases, they would have no choice but to accept their fate. However, it was highly unlikely for a Golden Core stage cultivator to personally deal with a few Qi refining stage juniors for 2 main reasons. Firstly, it would be seen as beneath them. Engaging directly with such low-level cultivators could be perceived as undignified. Secondly, the benefits did not align. If a Golden Core stage demonic cultivator were to hide in the mountains, then indeed, righteous Golden Core stage cultivators would promptly pursue them. "Let's go," Su Ming gestured broadly, and Chen Gu Wei Hua and 2 others quickly followed. They had all disguised themselves and deliberately donned the attire of loose cultivators to blend in. Not long after leaving the Wu family estate, the sounds of combat reached their ears from behind, clangs and clashes of magical tools in the sky. Clearly, Lu Jinxiong had engaged the 2 Foundation establishment stage cultivators from the Divine Star Sect. The battle sounded fierce. "Move quickly, the sooner we leave, the sooner Uncle Master Lu can extricate himself," Wei Hua urged in a low shout. Su Ming nodded, and the group hastened their pace. However, they had only gotten 7 or 8 miles away from the Wu estate when Su Ming abruptly stopped and signaled for the others to do the same with a fist in the air. "What's wrong?" Qin Gu asked, his voice tinged with nervous suspicion. They were like startled rabbits, already on edge. Su Ming whispered, "My poison locusts saw that there are divine star sect disciples guarding the path ahead. We must take a detour." He had cultivated a type of goo insect called the poison locust, which looked indistinguishable from ordinary locusts at first glance. But in swarms of thousands, they could inflict severe damage on an enemy. Poison locusts could also be used as scouts. Before departing, Su Ming had released a swarm of his cultivated locusts to keep an eye on their surroundings, alerting them to any movements. "Which way should we go?"
Wei Hua asked.
Su Ming gritted his teeth. "To the west, towards White Ray Mountain, there are 3 divine star sect disciples on guard. We have no choice but to head south."
South.
Qin Gu and the others were shocked. "That's the main gate of the Wu family estate. It's the main road. There might be even more divine star sect disciples stationed there." Su Ming clenched his jaw. "Right now, we can only take it one step at a time. If we have to, we'll just have to weave through them. Let's hope we don't get spotted."
"Follow me."
Su Ming gestured broadly and took the lead. Qin Gu, Wei Hua, and the others exchanged glances, resigned to follow. Lacking in strength and without any powerful backing, they felt as vulnerable as rats crossing the street. The group cautiously advanced for a while, gradually approaching the flat main road. Qin Gu whispered, "Senior brother Chu must have taken the main road. I wonder how he's doing." Wei Hua pondered for a moment. Chu Xuan is a master of disguise. Perhaps he's been detained by the divine star sect disciples under the guise of being a loose cultivator.
Chun Ji's heart tightened. "If that's true, what should we do?"
Su Ming scoffed. "Are you thinking of exposing ourselves to save him? You're overthinking it. We can barely protect ourselves, let alone someone else. To save others, save yourself first. Surely you understand that." Qin Gu, Wei Hua, and the others remained silent.
"We're here."
Just then, Chen Gu noticed that the landscape ahead opened up and quietly alerted the group. "Keep quiet," Su Ming hissed. "Wait. Why is there a smell of blood?"
Wei Hua paused, surprised.
Everyone stopped, equally startled. They then saw, up ahead on the ground, 3 bodies lying still. From their attire, it was clear these were divine star sect disciples. 2 of them were decapitated, their eyes bulging out as if they couldn't believe their own deaths. Qin Gu, with a sudden gesture, pointed at a middle-aged cultivator's head and cried out in alarm.
"That head. I know it.
It belongs to Wei Peng, ranked 9th among the inner sect disciples of the Divine Star Sect. This fellow is a master of the 7th Qi refining level. 2 of our inner sect senior brothers fell by his hand." Su Ming, Wei Hua, and the others turned their gaze in that direction, only to recoil in shock. Wei Peng, at the 7th Qi refining level, possessed a strength far surpassing theirs. Was he now dead? Moreover, the surrounding area showed scant evidence of combat. Clearly, these 3 had scarcely managed to resist before they were easily dispatched. Who could be responsible for this?
Chun Gu swallowed hard. Could it be?
I mean, is it possible that these 3 were killed by senior brother Chu? Su Ming promptly refuted. Impossible. Chu Xuan is merely at the 4th Qi refining level. He could at best defeat a 5th-level cultivator. Moreover, facing 3 adversaries, how could he effortlessly eliminate them all? It would require at least the prowess of the 8th Qi refining level to instantly annihilate these 3. Qin Gu, Wei Hua, and the others pondered this and also deemed it unlikely. Su Ming exclaimed with vigor, "Let us depart, for whoever slew them has done us a great service. Once we reach safety, it will not be too late to extend our thanks to this adept." Qin Gu, Wei Hua, and the others concurred, nodding. "Indeed, let us hasten." The 5 quickened their stride and soon disappeared into the woodland.
Elsewhere.
Chu Xuan had long since left the Wu family estate. He did not venture into any mortal hamlets or towns, but once assured of his distance, he found a small mountain and usurped a bear's den. The den's rightful owner was courteously escorted into the stomach. Chu Xuan stirred the spiritual qi, purging the cave of its impurities and foul air. He then concealed the entrance and settled down cross-legged, eagerly inspecting the fruits of his venture. Foremost was, of course, his own storage bag. Currently, it housed the blood-refining array and over 100 small spiritual stones. These stones were acquired in exchange with Chen Gu, Wei Hua, and others for 30 blood beads. Previously, a blood bead was priced at 2 small spiritual stones each. Now they've risen to 3. TSK, looks like they have scant opportunities to hunt demonic beasts and mortals for refining blood beads. Chu Xuan's gaze then drifted to the side. The lesser storage bags of these 3 Divine Star Sect disciples piqued his anticipation even more, for they were akin to blind boxes that might contain treasures. He methodically opened each bag. A sparkle flashed in his eyes. The belongings in the bags of the 2 5th-level Qi refining disciples were mundane, merely containing 300 to 400 small spiritual stones and the standardized magic tool granted by the Divine Star Sect. However, the bag of the 7th level Qi refining disciple was far more promising, holding 2 medium spiritual stones and over 800 small spiritual stones, along with a set of the Qi gathering array and a mystifying array, both optimal for establishing a cave dwelling. Beyond these, Chu Xuan unexpectedly discovered something extraordinary. He hastily retrieved the item from the bag. It was a sinister pitch-black banner, within which resided the mournful wails and cries of countless tormented souls, sending shivers down one's spine. Chu Xuan's eyebrows rose in intrigue. The Myriad Souls banner was a superior-grade magic tool. Typically, Qi refining stage cultivators possessed only lower or middle-grade magic tools. Those at the foundation establishment stage might acquire superior or even top-grade magic tools. It was unexpected that a disciple of the Divine Star Sect would possess a Myriad Souls banner. Demonic cultivators often captured gloomy souls or hunted other cultivators to extract their living souls, placing them into the Myriad Souls banner for refinement. Over time, these gloomy and living souls would transform into fierce ghosts, more ferocious, more terrifying. Once unleashed, the Myriad Souls banner would release thousands of these fierce ghosts, surging like a tidal wave. Chu Xuan, ever perceptive, quickly grasped the situation. The Divine Star Sect disciple had likely stumbled upon and slain a cultivator from the Infinite Sect, obtaining the Myriad Souls banner and, rather than surrendering it to his sect, had secreted it away. The reasons for keeping it hidden were obvious. The Myriad Souls banner, a notorious demonic path magic tool, was immensely powerful. Clearly, he intended to keep it for himself and secretly refine it. One of the righteous 5 sects, and yet not all within the Divine Star Sect are as honorable as they claim, Chu Xuan scoffed. Demonic treasures were powerful and quick to manifest. Who wouldn't covet them? Were it not for the heavenly retribution that indiscriminate slaughter would incur, perhaps the righteous 5 sects would have long since turned to the demonic path. Nonetheless, this superior-grade Myriad Souls banner was an unexpected boon. Whether Divine Star Sect or Infinite Sect cultivators, anyone wishing to accumulate souls within the Myriad Souls banner would need to operate in secrecy. But Chu Xuan was different. Once he returned to that apocalyptic planet, there would be plenty of zombies from which he could extract living souls. With this, I have gained yet another treasure to accompany me, Chu Xuan thought, content. He immediately sat down cross-legged and began to meditate quietly. The blood mirror in his embrace slowly absorbed the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, gradually charging up. 5 days later, at White Ray Mountain, Su Ming, Chen Gu, Wei Hua, and the others were hidden within a cave, anxiously waiting. Logically, Lu Zhenxiong should have shaken off Sun Shi and the other Divine Star Sect cultivators 3 days ago and met up with them. Yet another 2 days had passed without a glimpse of Lu Zhenxiong. They dared not descend the mountain to investigate further, nor did they know the current state of the Wu family estate. Each day and night was spent in anxious anticipation. Perhaps we should disguise ourselves and go down the mountain to look, Su Ming suggested, glancing at Chen Gu. Your skills in disguise are the best among us. You go and check.
Chun Ji's heart tightened.
Why should I go? I always went to the peace market before. If we're going, you go. Su Ming stood up abruptly, his voice low and stern. Uncle Master Lu personally assigned me to lead this team. Chen Gu, are you planning to defy orders? Muttering under his breath, Chen Gu begrudgingly began to apply makeup. However, he had only done half when Lu Zhenxiong's voice suddenly rang from outside. No need to go down the mountain, I'm back. Lu Zhenxiong appeared at the cave entrance with a disciple in tow. Su Ming was overjoyed. Uncle Master, you're finally back. Lu Zhenxiong scanned the group and nodded slightly. The Wu family estate was surrounded tightly, yet you all managed to escape alive without a single loss.
Truly fortunate.
He pointed to the disciple behind him. Bai Feng and his group originally planned to flee to Wind Mountain, but they were ambushed en route. Only Bai Feng was lucky enough to escape and was rescued by me. Bai Feng gave a wry smile. If not for Uncle Master arriving just in time, I would have perished too. Su Ming, you and the others are really lucky. Did you not encounter any intercepting Divine Star Sect disciples? Su Ming, Chen Gu, and Wei Hua exchanged glances and recounted the events of that day. 3 Divine Star Sect disciples, including one at the 7th Qi refining level, are dead? Lu Zhenxiong and Bai Feng were astonished. No signs of a struggle. I presume it was an instant kill, leaving no chance for retaliation. It's highly likely only a cultivator of the 8th Qi refining level could achieve this, Su Ming murmured. Chen Gu timidly raised his hand. Uncle Master, could it be Senior Brother Chu? He has always been exceptionally strong. Su Ming frowned, still discussing Chu Xuan? After these past few months without sufficient cultivation resources, he's probably still at the 4th level of Qi refining. How could someone at that level instantly kill a 7th level cultivator? Chen Gu couldn't help but interject, but remember, senior brother Chu traded 30 blood beads with us. Perhaps his strength has advanced? Su Ming's face showed impatience. Lu Zhenxiong chuckled. Chu Xuan, who has been consistently ranked 10th among the inner sect.
I recall him.
Although his talent is ordinary, his strength is formidable, a promising seed indeed. However, even if he's reached the 5th level of qi refining now, facing 3 opponents of similar realms would still pose a great challenge, let alone one at the 7th level. Chen Gu was momentarily at a loss for words. Lu Zhenxiong pondered for a moment, then added, the top 10 disciples of our Infinite Sect's inner sect were all captured. It couldn't have been one of the Infinite Sect's cultivators. Perhaps it was a passing rogue cultivator who lent you a hand. Lu Zhenxiong casually remarked, no need to dwell on this further, let's return to the Wu family. Su Ming and the others were startled. Return. Lu Zhenxiong smiled slightly. They've turned the Wu family estate upside down, discovering that the Wu family's ancestor was under my influence, which is why we were hidden there. In reality, that foundation establishment stage cultivator from the Wu family is one of our own. Now the Wu family estate is truly a safe haven. 5 days later. In the cave, Chu Xuan slowly opened his eyes, showing a hint of joy. Over the past few days, he had been absorbing blood beads daily to operate the blood spirit technique. The blood beads he had purified using the blood transformation technique on that apocalyptic planet were now exhausted. His cultivation had made significant progress. He was already at the pinnacle of the 6th level of qi refining, just a step away from the 7th level. The 7th level of qi refining was considered the late stage of qi refining. He checked the blood mirror, it was fully charged. The time is right, it's time to return. Chu Xuan immersed his thoughts into the blood mirror, connecting to the apocalyptic planet. Instantly, the world spun around him. When his vision cleared, he was astonished to find himself standing in a shopping mall. However, he could hardly believe how the Walmart shopping mall had changed. It was charred black everywhere, clearly unsuitable as a stronghold anymore. Chu Xuan furrowed his brows. During his absence, someone had come to the Walmart and set it on fire maliciously. Interesting, Chu Xuan scoffed coldly. As a demonic cultivator, he hadn't yet provoked anyone, yet he had already been targeted.
Who, fetch me a live one?
Chu Xuan took out the corpse nurturing tower, released Hu, and commanded. Roar. With a roar, Hu, like a streak of black lightning, shot out. In a nearby district, inside a small supermarket, a woman lay on the ground, her head bloodied, dazed and barely conscious. A gaunt man knelt beside her, weeping bitterly. Before them stood a burly man, muscular and imposing, wielding a modified iron rod in his hand. The rod was studded with rusty nails. Striking anyone with it could cause tetanus if not outright death.
Don't kill her, don't kill her.
I'll do anything. The gaunt man stretched out his hands in a gesture of surrender. The burly man chuckled darkly. Oh?
Anything? He smirked.
Then help her onto that chair, and tie yourself up. With his life hanging by a thread, the gaunt man had no choice but to comply. Moments later, after securing himself tightly with ropes, he pleaded, "Can we go free now?" The burly man burst into laughter. "Kid, you're too naive. Had you struggled desperately, I might have hesitated. But now you're just a sitting duck. Ever since I was young, I've had a particular fancy that I've never been able to indulge. Now I think I'll give it a try." His face twisted into a malevolent grin as his gaze roved lasciviously over the woman's curves. Only then did the gaunt man realize the danger. He roared in anger, "Wang Bao, you want food and water? I have it at home, just don't touch her." Wang Bao laughed sinisterly, his thick hands tearing away the woman's jacket, revealing her pale skin beneath.
"Go to hell."
The gaunt man roared, a lion-like strength erupting from him as he charged at Wang Bao with the heavy iron chair. However, Wang Bao was on guard. He whirled around and swung his rod. Thud. The gaunt man's body fell heavily, his skull cracking open, blood and brain matter scattering. Wang Bao sneered, "I doit trying to fight me." His words were cut short as he screamed in pain. The woman had awakened, grabbing his fingers and savagely biting into them. Her eyes were white, devoid of pupils, surrounded by bloodshot veins. She had clearly turned into a zombie. Damn it. This idiot brought a woman bitten by a zombie along. Wang Bao recoiled in horror, cursing furiously. Having witnessed the zombie outbreak for over 5 years, he had seen numerous comrades get bitten and turn into zombies. But having it happen to himself was both infuriating and terrifying. Damn it, die. Wang Bao bellowed in rage, wildly swinging his tetanus-ridden iron rod. The woman's skull was smashed open, her blood and brain matter spraying out in a gruesome fountain. Standing still, Wang Bao gasped for fresh air, his hands trembling as he fumbled in his pocket for a long while before finally pulling out a cigarette and a lighter. He had kept this cigarette in his pocket for over 3 months, never daring to smoke it. Now, facing the prospect of turning into a zombie, he figured there was no better time.
Oh shit.
Just then, he heard footsteps approaching. Squinting, he saw a massive pitch-black zombie striding towards him. This zombie was significantly larger than typical ones, resembling a moving mountain. High-level zombie. Wang Bao's heart skipped a beat. This creature was clearly a high-level zombie. He thought about running, but then remembered he had been bitten and would soon turn into a zombie himself. He stopped in his tracks. Hey, I'm about to be a zombie too, can I hang with you? Wang Bao, rather manically, gestured towards the mountainous zombie. The next moment, he saw the huge zombie charge towards him. With a swift motion, his right arm scooped Wang Bao up and tucked him under its armpit. Thump. Thump. The massive zombie powerfully leapt from the ground, soaring over 5 meters high with each bound, repeatedly vaulting through the air. Wang Bao, dizzied by the motion, struggled to keep his bearings. When his vision finally cleared, he was astonished to find himself standing inside a dark wall-covered shopping mall. Wang Bao was momentarily stunned. He recognized this place. Several months ago, he had driven Zhao Hong here to this Walmart. Zhao Hong's brother-in-law, Tang Hu, had disappeared right here. At that time, Zhao Hong had Ling Tao investigate. Ling Tao ultimately concluded that there might be a high-level zombie here. Later, Zhao Hong ordered them to douse the place in gasoline and set it aflame. The chilling atmosphere of that day contrasted sharply with the outside temperature, which had soared to 30 degrees. The memory was still vivid in his mind. At this moment, the hulking zombie beside him was unusually docile, completely still. Wang Bao couldn't help but take a closer look. Upon closer inspection, he realized that the zombie's face bore a striking resemblance to someone he knew, Tang Hu. Though the zombie's body had swollen significantly, its arms and legs massively thickened, it was still discernibly Tang Hu. Suddenly, he noticed a young man busily working ahead of him.
Arrived?
That was quick, the young man said casually, his back to Wang Bao as he tinkered with something. Who growled a few times, seemingly a bit proud. Chu Xuan laughed heartily. Well done indeed, bringing a live one so quickly. I'll make you a companion shortly. Who roared excitedly in response. Chu Xuan casually took a seat on a chair and waved his hand. Who then forced Wang Bao to kneel in front of the young man.
Oh, you've been bitten?
Good, killing you won't reduce my merit. Chu Xuan noted Wang Bao's fingers with a nonchalant smile. Seeing his smile, Wang Bao instinctively felt fear. He always felt as though he was facing a ferocious beast, not a person. Unable to contain his curiosity, Wang Bao asked, "Who are you? Why can you control Brother Hu?" Chu Xuan chuckled strangely, "You know who? Looks like you must be from that spirit hounds, huh?"
Wang Bao nodded.
Chu Xian's pupils flashed with a purple light. "Good, you answer my questions now." At that moment, Wang Bao felt as if his soul had been seized, turning him into a puppet who could only comply. This spell, known as the soul-capturing gaze, was a low-tier qi refining stage technique, usable only against those whose realms were far below one's own, possessing no offensive power. Chu Xuan deployed the soul-capturing gaze simply to avoid wasting words and to quickly gather the information he needed.
Name, he commanded.
Wang Bao. What position do you hold in the Spirit Hounds?
Boss Zhao's confidant.
Who ordered the burning of this palace? Boss Zhao directed us to burn it. Chu Xuan raised an eyebrow. It was indeed Zhao Hong from the Spirit Hounds. He continued his interrogation, and Wang Bao responded obligatorily. After a while, the effect of the soul-capturing gaze ended, and Wang Bao gradually recovered from his dazed state. His head throbbed painfully, unaware of what had just transpired. Worse yet, the virus had already infected his entire body, and bloodthirsty thoughts began to emerge. Arg! Wang Bao let out a harsh scream. Chu Xuan snapped his fingers. Who immediately stepped forward, lifting Wang Bao and throwing him into a bathtub already filled with corpse-refining elixir. Wang Bao frantically gulped down the liquid, and soon, all noises ceased. "Ah, the noodles are ready, time to show off," Chu Xuan said, picking up the steaming bowl of instant noodles and beginning to eat. While eating, he contemplated his next moves. According to Wang Bao, Zhao Hong seems to have tamed 3 dogs, each over 3 meters long and ferociously formidable. Zhao Hong himself appears skinny but possesses muscle strength far beyond ordinary men. Furthermore, there's the existence of high-level zombies, far stronger than regular zombies. Could they have been mutated by the virus? This apocalyptic planet is intriguing. There might be threats that could challenge me, necessitating an organization to gather intelligence for me. Moreover, the number of zombies I can exterminate alone is limited. Having a gang at my disposal would greatly enhance efficiency, Chu Xuan nodded slightly. This spirit hounds might be worth bringing under his command. Of course, turning them all into corpse puppets was also an option. It all depended on his whim.
2 days later.
Chu Xuan examined the rigid corpse puppet he had created, nodding in satisfaction. He placed it in the corpse nurturing tower and infused it with spiritual qi, performing an identification spell. 3rd level corpse soldier, medium talent. Its spells are Shadow Walk and Fire Spike, not bad. Chu Xuan raised an eyebrow. Both of the corpse puppets he had refined possessed medium talent. Shadow Walk allowed for concealing one's presence and moving almost invisibly at high speeds. Fire Spike involved condensing fire in the palm and striking fiercely at an enemy. Very good. Shadow Walk combined with Fire Spike makes for an excellent assassin, Chu Xuan chuckled as he nodded. This combination of spells was perfect. From now on, you'll be called Bao. Chu Xuan patted the corpse puppet's shoulder satisfactorily. Bao immediately let out a joyous roar, as if celebrating his rebirth. Roar roar, who growled disapprovingly nearby. Bao's voice instantly quieted down, and he shrank his neck, showing great respect towards who then roared a few more times contentedly. In just that short moment, the 2 corpse puppets had already established their hierarchy. Chu Xuan stretched lazily and smiled slightly. It's time now, let's head to Haotai Hotel.
Roar roar.
Hu and Bao both roared excitedly, their eyes gleaming with a bloodthirsty light. At the entrance of Haotai Hotel, there was originally just a security booth. However, under Zhao Hong's command, a watchtower rising 3 meters above the ground had been constructed. 2 men stationed in the tower were supposed to be on alert, but instead, they were engaged in a card game. Despite the Spirit Hound's massive strength, boasting over 300 members known for their bloodthirsty ferocity, in the entirety of East Lake City only Black Blade Security, another major power, could rival them. Lone survivors and smaller groups dared not provoke the Spirit Hounds. The 2 men in the watchtower weren't actually keeping watch, they were absorbed in their card game. Chu Xuan could hear the men shouting from a distance and himself as he approached.
Having fun, gentlemen.
The 2 men instantly became alert, dropped their handmade cards, and hurriedly stood up. They were shocked to find 3 figures at the gate. The leader was a handsome young man in odd attire that seemed more suited to a fantasy drama than modern times. Behind him stood 2 towering, burly figures with grim expressions, looking as though they were ready to charge and devour at any moment.
Who are you? The guards demanded.
Chu Xuan smiled. The new boss of the Spirit Hounds. The 2 guards looked at each other and burst into laughter. That's hilarious. You, a kid whose dick hasn't even grown in fully, want to be the new boss. After their laughter subsided, their expressions turned cold. You're interrupting our game, go eat shit. They picked up trash from beside them and hurled it towards Chu Xuan. Chu Xuan stood motionless as Hu swiftly positioned himself in front of him. With a loud clang, he swatted away the filth hurled their way.
Kill them.
They're just wasting food anyway, Chu Xuan waved dismissively.
Roar roar.
Hu and Bao responded eagerly. The 2 corpse puppets propelled themselves off the ground like springs, instantly leaping onto the watchtower. The 2 guards widened their eyes in shock, unprepared for what was happening, and were swiftly disemboweled. Hu and Bao relished their feast, devouring with gusto. Stop eating, open the gate, Chu Xuan commanded casually. Hu let out a few embarrassed roars and hurried to the gate, smashing it open with a single powerful swipe of his claw. Chu Xuan then leisurely walked into the Haotai Hotel. The loud noise from the gate drew the attention of many inside. They peered out of windows or stepped out of doors, only to be met with the sight of Chu Xuan and the 2 guards being devoured.
Panic ensued. My God!
Zombies have breached our headquarters. Quickly, more than 20 men armed with long guns and clubs confronted Chu Xuan. They eyed the oddly dressed youth, feeling an inexplicable sense of dread. I'm here for Zhao Hong, Chu Xuan stated indifferently.
Ridiculous.
You think you can just ask to see the boss? One of the men scoffed, growling at him. With a simple wave of his hand, Bao charged out, dragging the man from the crowd and slashing his throat open. Blood spurted out like a fountain, causing the others to shiver. Their gaze towards Chu Xuan shifted dramatically. The zombies were obeying him. This man can control zombies. No wonder he dared to storm into the Spirit Hound's stronghold. Some looked more closely at Hu and Bao, recognition dawning on them. After a moment, someone screamed, "They are Brother Hu and Brother Bao." The others caught on, filled with horror. Tang, who was Zhao Hong's brother-in-law, and Wang Bao was one of his trusted subordinates. Both had once held significant status within the Spirit Hounds, far beyond ordinary members. Now, they had both turned into imposing zombies, following orders from this young man. The situation was utterly unbelievable. Chu Xuan frowned, his impatience growing with these slow-witted gang members who still hadn't fetched Zhao Hong. He seriously doubted the utility of the spirit hounds. Even if he took control, these people seemed more like freeloaders than useful subordinates. Perhaps letting the corpse puppets consume them was the better option. "You looking for me?" A voice suddenly emerged from the crowd, which parted to create a path. A gaunt figure strode forward confidently, followed by 3 muscular, enormous dogs. Each beast exuded a menacing, bloodthirsty aura. This man was Zhao Hong, the leader of the spirit hounds. Chu Xuan eyed the man with a trace of surprise. He could sense a fluctuation of energy emanating from Zhao Hong, an energy different from spiritual qi and inherently weaker in essence. However, it was clear that Zhao Hong's superior physical condition and his ability to tame such massive dogs were due to this peculiar energy. If he were refined into a corpse puppet, his strength would undoubtedly be formidable, Chu Xuan thought, his eyes lighting up as he examined Zhao Hong as if he were a perfect piece of art. This scrutiny made Zhao Hong quite uncomfortable. Yet, recognizing that Chu Xuan was no ordinary individual, especially given his unheard-of ability to control zombies, Zhao Hong suppressed his discomfort and asked calmly, "Who are you, why are you looking for me, and what exactly do you want?" Chu Xuan responded evenly, "The Walmart you burned down was under my control." Zhao Hong paused, taken aback. That incident had occurred months ago, almost forgotten until now. Only at Chu Xuan's mention did he vividly recall the ice-cold ambience of the mall. Zhao Hong nodded, "Yes, I burned it. I was unaware of your ownership at the time. If you wish, I can arrange for another mall to be prepared for you. Most of East Lake City is under the control of the spirit hounds." A gang member outraged interjected, "Boss, he killed our men." Zhao Hong swiftly backhanded the man, sending him flying. "Not enough," Chu Xuan shook his head. Zhao Hong, meeting Chu Xuan's gaze coldly, replied, "I've offered compensation. Whether you accept it is your choice, but the spirit hounds will not keep making concessions. Don't forget, you also killed my men." He stood firm, the gang leader in front of his subordinates, unwilling to let Chu Xuan push him too far. Chu Xuan chuckled and snapped his fingers, "Simple. I want the entire spirit hounds." Zhao Hong was taken aback, then laughed out of sheer anger, "Interesting. This is the first time I've encountered someone as brazenly foolish as you.
Dahe Daho Erho attack.
Devour him alive." As his command echoed, the 3 ferocious dogs lunged forward, their slobbery jaws aiming for Chu Xuan's throat, left arm, and right leg. Yet, Chu Xuan remained composed, hands behind his back. Hu swiftly moved in front of him while Bao vanished from sight. A golden aura enveloped Hu, making him appear as a celestial warrior descended to earth. Clang! The 3 giant dogs slammed into Hu, their powerful bites snapping shut. But in the next moment, they began to whimper in pain. Their teeth, capable of crushing human skulls, shattered like glass. Zhao Hong's heart trembled with shock. These must be high-level zombies. And such formidable zombies were being controlled by a human? But wait, weren't there 2 zombies? Where was the other one? As this thought crossed his mind, a piercing pain suddenly erupted in his back. Twisting his body in a reflexive attempt to evade, Zhao Hong still felt the acute tearing pain. A blade formed from condensed fire, sliced through his back, spewing blood and leaving a long deep wound. The fire continued to burn, sending agonizing pain piercing through his mind like countless needles. In just a few breaths, Zhao Hong felt his strength draining from his wound. His complexion turned pale, and his body swayed, needing support to remain upright. Whimpering sounds filled the air. By then, Hu had already dealt a brutal beating to the 3 spiritual dogs. Dahe, who had attacked Chu Xuan most fiercely, was now bleeding from every orifice and convulsing on the ground, evidently on the brink of death. Daho and Erho, more sensible, immediately rolled over to expose their bellies in submission. Seeing this, Zhao Hong's heart turned ice cold. His long-trained spiritual dogs were effortlessly defeated and had even switched allegiances. His own vaunted physical strength seemed as fragile as tofu. Taking a deep breath, Zhao Hong suddenly pulled out a pitch-black metallic object from his bosom and, without hesitation, opened fire on Chu Xuan. "Die," he snarled with a malevolent grin. The incident unfolded suddenly, and the incredible speed of the firearm caught even Hu off guard. Despite its instinct to protect its master, it was still a step too slow. Chu Xuan saw the dark firearm and the flash of gunfire, yet he showed no fear. With a swish, a line of blood surged from his palm, appearing like a streak of crimson lightning. Clang! The bullet struck the bloodline and, as if hitting a steel plate, veered off course dramatically, firing into the crowd. A man screamed as he fell backward, landing in a pool of blood. The bullet had precisely pierced his eye socket and penetrated his brain. Zhao Hong's eyes widened in shock. What was that bloodline that could stop a bullet? He roared in anger and fired again. Bang, bang, bang. He discharged 3 shots in rapid succession. Each bullet was effortlessly blocked by the streak of blood, diverting their paths. None hit Chu Xuan, but 3 more members of the Spirit Hounds fell instead. Zhao Hong was utterly astounded. He had only 4 bullets, and all had been deflected. He could now see clearly that the bloodline was actually a large blood-colored worm. This young man could not only control zombies but also worms. It was terrifying. Chu Xuan extended his hand and gently caressed the blood-steel wire. He calmly asked, "Is this gun your last resort?" Thump. Zhao Hong collapsed, his body going limp as he fell to the ground, devoid of any will to resist. "The Spirit Hounds is yours now. Spare my life." Zhao Hong swallowed hard, his voice earnest. He then knelt down, abandoning any pride he had as the leader of the Spirit Hounds. He had realized that the young man before him was a monster beyond his capacity to contend with. His life and everything he owned were now firmly in the hands of this formidable stranger. Now, his only chance to survive was to show sincere submission. Chu Xuan shook his head in response to Zhao Hong's offer of surrender and an alternative shopping mall. "I'm satisfied with your body, I'll take the Spirit Hounds, and I want you too." Zhao Hong froze for a moment, then, as if suddenly realizing something, his eyes flashed with shock. I'm not gay," he stammered awkwardly, "but if you insist, I guess I can't refuse." The surrounding gang members looked bewildered. This was their leader, Zhao Hong, always high and mighty. Yet now, to save his own life, he seemed ready to agree to anything. Chu Xuan couldn't help but laugh silently. "Gay? That's not what I meant." Calmly, Chu Xuan commanded, "Hu, tie him up and take him to the rooftop. Bao, you stay here with the 2 dogs and make sure no one leaves." Hu and Bao roared in acknowledgement of their orders. The Spirit Hounds members looked at each other, bewildered. With Zhao Hong kneeling and capitulating, they certainly didn't dare to flee. To them, this was merely a change of leadership. Regardless of who was in charge, they were still just underlings. The young man couldn't possibly manage everything alone, could he? Thinking this, the gang members gradually calmed down and returned to their rooms to continue whatever they had been doing. On the rooftop of the Haotai Hotel, Hu arranged a clean reclining chair, and Chu Xuan lay down comfortably. Zhao Hong kneeled before him, smiling nervously. "Big brother, what position do you want?" "I can do anything." Chu Xuan's pupils flashed purple as he again deployed the soul-capturing gaze. "I ask, you answer." Initially, Zhao Hong struggled, but within half a minute, he became as docile as a marionette, responding mechanically to Chu Xuan's questions. After a while, the influence of the soul-capturing gaze faded. Chu Xuan had extracted all the information he needed from Zhao Hong's mind. Psionic energy. A level 1 superhuman. Superhuman talent. He mused, intrigued. This planet, called Blue Star, was part of a centralized imperial nation known as the Han Dynasty, and this city, East Lake, was under the jurisdiction of Linjiang Province. East Lake City had 2 major forces, the Spirit Hounds Gang and the Black Blade Security. The information about the outbreak not being caused by a virus but by psionic energy was sourced from Black Blade Security. Normally, ordinary people couldn't withstand this energy. Their genes would collapse, their bodies would mutate, and they would turn into bloodthirsty monsters, also known as zombies. Some people could endure the energy without awakening any talent, resulting in slightly stronger physiques, but still essentially normal humans. Others not only withstood the energy but also awakened superhuman talents, resulting in exceptionally strong physiques. These were the superhumans. Before the outbreak, Zhao Hong was a dog meat seller, often loitering around the outskirts of East Lake City, stealthily stealing domestic dogs to slaughter for meat. Perhaps it was this that awakened his superhuman talent, dog mastery, a natural ability to suppress and control dogs. Superhumans were categorized from levels 1 to 9. Having 1 psionic core made one a level 1 superhuman, and so on. Zhao Hong was a level 1 superhuman. Zhao Hong felt a sudden wave of dizziness wash over him. He had no inkling of the events that had just unfolded. Without further discourse, Chu Xuan turned and began to prepare the elixir for corpse refinement. Being a level 1 superhuman, Zhao Hong boasted an exceptionally strong constitution. Therefore, only the finest elixir would suffice for the corpse refining process. Anything less would simply waste his gifted physique. This time, Chu Xuan devoted even longer to the preparations. It took a full 2 hours before everything was in order. "Proceed, place him inside," Chu Xuan commanded, gesturing dismissively. Who faithfully executed the order. Zhao Hong looked into the bathtub, filled with a dark, ominous elixir, and his expression turned to one of fear. "Brother, didn't you promise to spare my life? What exactly is this for?" Chu Xuan cracked a sly smile. Just soak well, and you will emerge stronger.
Hang in there.
Zhao Hong swallowed nervously. He had the unsettling feeling that Chu Xuan was merely amusing him. With a plunge, Hu forced Zhao Hong's head down into the bathtub. Despite his desperate struggles to lift his head, Hu's overpowering strength kept him submerged. After being forced to swallow several mouthfuls, Zhao Hong finally quieted down, evidently rendered unconscious. Chu Xuan took a sip of his instant milk tea, nodding slightly in satisfaction. Considering Zhao Hong's robust health, he had specifically added a soul-soothing herb to the elixir, a component known for its sedative effects. It was particularly well suited for Zhao Hong. Holding his milk tea, Chu Xuan walked to the edge of the rooftop, from which he could survey the entire hotel. He observed the members of the Spirit Hounds, who were listlessly congregating below. Some were playing cards, others were chatting, and a few, with nothing better to do, were engaged in a brawl. Humans need to eat and drink every day, Chu Xuan mused aloud. Humans' hearts are hidden behind their stomachs, and there will always be those who bear ill will towards me. This Spirit Hounds engages in actions that defy moral and heavenly principles, with few good souls among them. Killing them would not diminish my virtue. If that is the case, it would be better to transform them all into corpse puppets. After all, the dead are far more compliant than the living. Chu Xuan sipped his steaming milk tea, contemplating.
Hu, make your choice.
Keep the strong for corpse refinement, and use the rest as nourishment. Upon hearing this, Hu roared excitedly.
Chu Xuan frowned.
Remember to save some for Bao, and some for bloodsteel wire. Don't consume them all yourself. Hu nodded reluctantly, then rushed off, buoyed by excitement. Within the Haotai Hotel, a bloody banquet unfolded. Hu, Bao, and 2 spirit dogs, all possessed strength to completely overpower ordinary humans. Where they passed, a storm of blood and carnage ensued. Screams were incessant. Chu Xuan pondered thoughtfully. Zhao Hong had once mentioned the term high-level zombies. According to him, zombies were categorized into ranks. High-level zombie was merely a general term. Above ordinary zombies were level 1 zombies, within whom a solid psionic core had condensed. Their strength was comparable to that of a level 1 superhuman. Further above were the level 2 zombies, equivalent to level 2 superhumans. However, Zhao Hong had only encountered a few level 1 zombies, and had never seen a level 2 zombie.
Psionic core?
If a comparison must be made, would that refer to a golden core or a corpse core? The golden core is only formed by cultivators during the golden core phase. A corpse core also requires a corpse general equivalent in strength to a golden core cultivator. My 2 corpse puppets are still far from forming a corpse core. According to the superhuman system here, what level of zombie would they be considered? Chu Xuan chuckled softly, reluctant to dwell on the matter. After all, they were not part of the same system and could not be directly compared. Moments later, Hu arrived at the rooftop with 6 robust men in tow. These men trembled uncontrollably. One of them had even wet himself in fear. Hu, with a human finger still hanging from the corner of his mouth, swallowed it before roaring a few times to indicate that he had completed his task.
Chu Xuan nodded slightly.
During this time, he had prepared 6 batches of the corpse-refining elixir. With a grand gesture, he directed Hu to throw them into the bathtubs to begin the corpse-refining process. Meanwhile, he took to the skies on his flying magic tool, circling the Haotai Hotel, in search of areas densely populated with zombies. He had not forgotten his primary objective. That was to set up the blood-refining array and sacrifice a massive number of zombies. Whoosh! Chu Xuan soared through the sky on his flying sword. With human industrial activities absent, the skies of Blue Star were exceptionally clear. Chu Xuan looked down at the desolate landscape below. High-rises were overrun with lush vines. It was unclear how these vines had managed to climb hundreds of meters up the buildings. Perhaps, like animals, plants had also been affected by psionic energy, resulting in slight mutations. Chu Xuan flew around, occasionally examining the situation below and shaking his head.
He was dissatisfied.
In many areas, the zombies were too sparsely scattered. Using the blood-refining array in such conditions was not cost-effective. After all, activating the blood-refining array required spirit stones. The spirit stones he had could at best sustain the blood-refining array for about half an hour. That place looks promising.
Chu Xuan's eyes brightened.
He suddenly discovered a horde of over 1,000 zombies gathered in an unfinished building. Moreover, these zombies were relentlessly surging upward as if something was drawing them. Chu Xuan immediately steered his flying sword closer. At this moment, in the upper floors of the unfinished building, 2 robust men in black casual wear were escorting an elderly man, rushing towards the top floor. The elder was drenched in sweat, nearly being carried as they sprinted. Yet, despite this, He clutched tightly to a large box, never loosening his grip. Moments later, they reached the rooftop. The two men in black produced a walkie-talkie and sent out a distress signal. They dragged all available furniture to barricade the rooftop door, hoping to delay the zombies from breaking through. The elder collapsed on the ground, gasping for air. After a while, he spoke, "Gentlemen, I'm just a burden. With me, your chances of survival are slim. Take this level 3 psionic core, and leave me here. This was obtained at the cost of many lives. It must not be lost." Saying this, he solemnly passed the large box to them. Both men in black immediately shook their heads. One of them, named Zhuang Chong, said earnestly, "Professor Zhang, you are the chief of the Life Science Research Institute of Linjiang Province. Your life is more precious than ours. Even if we perish, you must not." The other, named Sun Meng, reassured him, "Don't worry, before coming here, we contacted Black Blade Security in this area. They will send a helicopter to pick us up. The distress signal has been sent, they should act swiftly. As long as we can hold on, we can survive." Professor Zhang sighed softly, "The world is unpredictable, I fear we cannot depend on them."
Minutes later,
Thuds and roars of the zombies clawing and shrieking suddenly filled the air. Clearly, the pursuing zombies had caught the scent of living beings and were desperately pushing aside the furniture. Zhuang Chong and Sun Meng's faces paled as they rushed to reinforce the barricade with their own strength. But how could two men withstand the force of thousands of zombies? With a loud bang, the furniture was violently shoved aside. Scores of zombies surged out, causing the pupils of Zhuang Chong, Sun Meng, and Professor Zhang to constrict. Surrounded by so many zombies, their survival seemed impossible. Just then, the sound of a sword's hum filled the sky. The next moment, a youthful figure descended from the heavens. With a sweep of his long sleeves, a fierce wind erupted. Then, to the amazement of the three men, the zombies suddenly became like headless flies. Even with several living beings right before them, the zombies could neither see nor smell them. The youth flicked his finger lightly, sending a wisp of chi hurtling down the corridor. Like starving wolves catching the scent of meat, the zombies charged after it. In an instant, all the zombies had rushed into the corridor. With a casual wave of his hand, the rooftop door slammed shut. He stepped forward, took out a yellow talisman, and affixed it to the door. After these preparations, the youth then casually approached the three men. The two men gaped, feeling as though they were in the presence of a celestial being descended from the heavens. Professor Zhang scrutinized the youth. The young man's attire was reminiscent of the cultivators described in novels of immortal cultivation, making it hard for him to believe that such a person could exist in reality. "May I ask, what did you just do? Why aren't the zombies attacking us anymore?" Zhuang Chong couldn't help but inquire. Chu Xuan replied nonchalantly, "Just a minor spell to conceal our qi." Concealment spell, a minor technique from the qi refining stage, could completely hide one's qi. Zombies, with their poor eyesight, rely solely on their sense of smell to attack the living. By using the concealment spell, he had completely hidden their qi, rendering the zombies effectively headless flies. Then, by releasing a strand of human qi, he lured the zombies away. Zhuang Chong was about to ask another question when the rooftop door was struck again. The ensuing roar of numerous zombies made the trio instinctively step back. However, they were astonished to find that the door had become extraordinarily sturdy. Despite the relentless pounding by countless zombies, it remained undamaged. "No need to worry, I've applied a solid rock talisman to the door. They won't be able to break through it," Chu Xuan said casually. The solid rock talisman, a minor talisman from the qi refining stage, when applied to any object, could reinforce its durability. It not only strengthened the hardness but also extended its endurance. The strength of these ordinary zombies, even 1,000 of them attacking together, might just manage to break it. However, in such a confined space, at most only a dozen could attack at once. A single solid rock talisman was more than sufficient to handle them. The three men felt completely bewildered. Solid rock talisman? What was that? Chu Xuan looked over the trio, finally focusing on the box in the elder's arms. "What is in here that the zombies are chasing it?" He pointed to the box and asked.
Professor Zheng's heart tightened.
Logically, he should not reveal what was inside the box. However, the youth before them had saved their lives and clearly possessed immense strength. Under such circumstances, there was no need for secrecy. It was better to be forthright. He stopped Zhuang Chong and Sun Meng from stepping in front of him and spoke earnestly. "Inside here is a level 3 psionic core, sourced from a level 3 zombie bear. I implore you not to take it away, it is very useful for our Life Science Research Institute. With it, we might be able to develop a weapon to combat the zombies, a great boon for the whole world." Chu Xuan was puzzled. "When did I say I wanted to take it away?"
Professor Zhang paused. You don't want it?
This is a level 3 psionic core. Chu Xuan chuckled lightly. To me, it's no different from a glass bead on the ground. Let me see, he said, reaching out his hand. Professor Zhang hesitated for a moment, but then passed the box over. He had lived a long life and met many people. The youth's demeanor carried a pride that seemed genuinely indifferent to the psionic core. Chu Xuan opened the box and saw a red bead lying quietly at the bottom. At first glance, it didn't seem much different from a glass bead. But upon closer inspection, he immediately detected a trace of energy within the bead. The nature of this energy was vastly inferior to spiritual qi. Though substantial in quantity, if compared, it would just barely match the spiritual qi found in a small spiritual stone. After only a few looks, Chu Xuan put the item back in the box and shook his head slightly. The so-called level 3 psionic core only had as much energy as a small spiritual stone. He was beginning to get an idea of Blue Star's supernatural system. You too, are you level 1 superhumans? Military background. Chu Xuan's gaze fell on the two men in black. He could tell from their coordinated actions that such synergy was unlikely to be honed outside of a military environment. The two men exchanged a glance and nodded. Zhuang Chong spoke earnestly. We are from the Linjiang Army of Linjiang Province, tasked with retrieving the zombie bear psionic core and ensuring Professor Zheng's safe evacuation.
Chu Xuan nodded slightly.
Even with the zombie crisis and the advent of the apocalypse, as long as humanity had not been extinguished, there would at least be nations and powers still existing. Clearly, the official power of the Han dynasty still held sway. Who is supposed to evacuate you? Chu Xuan asked casually. Sun Meng replied, Black Blade Security Company. They will use a helicopter to get us out. Chu Xuan nodded. Why haven't they come? Zhuang Chong replied with a helpless expression. Their helicopter hadn't been used in a long time and needed repairs, so our originally scheduled meeting time was at noon. But we were besieged by a large number of zombies and had to send a distress signal early to ask them to come sooner. It might be because of that delay. The two men exchanged a look and sighed lightly. Black Blade Security was, after all, just a local force and couldn't compare to the strictly disciplined and orderly Linjiang army. Their own deaths mattered little, but not being able to return the level 3 psionic core would be a tremendous loss for the entire Linjiang province. Chu Xuan smiled slightly. You've attracted so many zombies, which is very useful to me. Help me with one thing, and I will ensure your safe departure. Professor Zhang and the two soldiers were taken aback. Professor Zhang widened his eyes. Please tell us. We will definitely help. After speaking, he felt he might have promised too much and quickly added, but we can't do anything against the rules.
That's our bottom line.
Chu Xuan chuckled. You don't need to do much, just continue standing on this rooftop and keep attracting the zombies.
That's enough.
With the solid rock talisman, that door won't be broken. Professor Zhang and the two soldiers exchanged doubtful glances.
Continue to attract zombies?
What did this young man want to do? They racked their brains but couldn't fathom Chu Xuan's intentions, so they decided not to overthink it. Professor Zhang nodded. This task is not difficult. We can do it. Chu Xuan gave a nod of approval. The next moment, he rose on his sword. A fierce wind whipped up on the rooftop, making it impossible for the three men to keep their eyes open. When they managed to see clearly again, Chu Xuan was already soaring in the sky. Professor Zhang and the others were utterly astonished. When Chu Xuan first appeared, they hadn't seen clearly. But now, they had watched with their own eyes as Chu Xuan flew into the sky.
What was this? Sword flight.
Wasn't that something only found in cultivation novels? It was now happening right before their eyes. Zhuang Chong swallowed hard. Flight through the void. That's not something humans can do. Sun Meng said in awe. Could he be a cultivator? Professor Zheng's heart was in turmoil. He felt as if his worldview, already reshaped once by the zombie crisis, was collapsing again. This must be reported immediately when we return.
A cultivator.
Our Linjiang province actually has a cultivator. Professor Zheng's aged fingers trembled uncontrollably. Elsewhere, Chu Xuan soared through the skies, searching for the ideal location to set up his formation. The blood refining array required 18 array flags. He needed to position these flags at 18 specific points and embed spirit stones within them. Finally, the array would be activated through an array disk. Although Chu Xuan's proficiency in formation arts was only average, he was willing to invest the effort, enabling him to adeptly set up the blood refining array. Within half an hour, he had all 18 array flags properly positioned. From above, the flags around the unfinished building formed an 18-sided polygon, encapsulating the vast majority of zombies in the vicinity. Chu Xuan had asked Professor Zhang and the others to remain on the rooftop precisely to keep attracting zombies, preventing them from wandering aimlessly. After completing these tasks, Chu Xuan returned to the rooftop. At that moment, Professor Zhang and the others were nibbling on protein energy bars. Seeing Chu Xuan return, they quickly stood up. "Follow me, one at a time," Chu Xuan instructed, reaching for Professor Zhang first. His flying magic tool could only carry one extra person. The two soldiers instinctively stepped forward, intending to shield Professor Zhang. Their orders were to ensure his absolute safety. However, Professor Zhang, anticipating their reaction, held back their hands and gave them a knowing look, halting them. They realized something important. With Chu Xuan's strength, eliminating them would be effortless. Yet, he had still chosen to honor his promise to lead them to safety. Distrusting him at this juncture could provoke his ire. "Let's go, young friend," Professor Zhang said cheerfully. Chu Xuan gave a half-smile. With his keen perception, he immediately understood the implications behind Professor Zhang's actions. Yet, he chose not to address it. The trio had assisted him in attracting a large number of zombies, which put him in a good mood. Keeping his promise to escort them away was the right thing to do. Soon, Chu Xuan had transported each of them from the unfinished building and set them down in a nearby open square. "Contact your rescue team, I have other matters to attend to," Chu Xuan said, gesturing for them to leave. "Thank you," Professor Zhang bowed deeply, unable to resist asking, "May I have your name?"
Chu Xuan.
"Thank you, young friend Chu Xuan. I, Zhang Baoshan, will always remember the life-saving grace you've shown us today." With another bow, Professor Zhang then left under the escort of Zhuang Chong and Sun Meng. Chu Xuan cast a fleeting glance at the receding figures, then turned his attention to more pressing matters, the activation of the blood-refining array. He ascended on his flying sword to midair and gazed down upon the zombies clustered within the unfinished building like headless flies, and activated the array disk. A peculiar blood light burst forth from 18 points, swiftly engulfing the entire area. Within the blood-refining array, everything was shrouded in a murky crimson haze, obscuring all clarity. Every living creature within was visibly drained of its blood essence at a visible rate. The zombies, initially howling with vigor, quickly wilted as their lifeblood was extracted. In less than 3 minutes, one after another turned into mummified corpses and collapsed to the ground. The process continued, second, third, fourth. All the blood essence converged towards the array disk, coalescing naturally into fist-sized blood pearls. Chu Xuan, poised on his flying sword in midair, felt a surge of exhilaration. The efficiency was astounding. Soon, the blood essence of all the zombies within the area had been completely drained by the blood-refining array, and the spirit stones within the 18 array flags were also exhausted. Upon inspection, Chu Xuan noticed 13 large blood pearls had formed on the array disk. Each was ruby red and glossy, resembling red jade agates, and emitted a faint scent of blood. Chu Xuan couldn't help but marvel at them. Each of these 13 large blood pearls was the size of a fist and of superior quality, each worth at least 20 smaller pearls. "These 13 large blood pearls should suffice for my cultivation up to the 9th level of qi refining," Chu Xuan nodded slightly. Just as he was about to depart, he suddenly noticed a strange phenomenon in the sky. A plethora of golden light spontaneously appeared, forming myriad golden flowers that cascaded from the sky and swirled around him. This spectacle lasted for about 5 minutes before gradually subsiding.
Chu Xuan was astonished.
Golden flowers cascading. Wasn't such a phenomenon supposed to herald those endowed with great virtue? Why had it descended upon him? After a brief moment of surprise, he suddenly recalled. He had just slaughtered thousands of zombies, not sure exactly how many, but certainly over 3,000. Killing each zombie garnered a small amount of merit. The accumulation of such merit had triggered this spectacle of golden flowers cascading. Chu Xuan's expression turned peculiar. Demonic cultivators, great virtue, golden flowers cascading. These terms should never be associated together. Every demonic cultivator carried a myriad of karmic deaths. Not summoning celestial thunder was already fortunate. And yet, great virtue? Golden flowers cascading? Such contradictions made him reflect on the unexpected and peculiar path his actions had forged. Among all demonic cultivators throughout the ages, perhaps I am the only one to have ever drawn forth such a manifestation of merit, Chu Xuan mused with a wry smile. At that moment, all the golden flowers were absorbed into his body. Chu Xuan blinked, suddenly feeling his thoughts become extraordinarily clear. The difficulties he had encountered while cultivating the blood spirit technique now seemed to unravel effortlessly, as if divine clarity had been bestowed upon him. Problems that were once insurmountable now easily found their solutions. Moreover, he discovered something indescribable and profound within himself: increased longevity and fortune, the true benefits of accruing merit. His comprehension soared, his fortune wrapped tightly around him, and his lifespan expanded. The accumulation of merit from his previous slaying of zombies had now catalyzed a profound transformation. No wonder those righteous cultivators clamored daily about eradicating evil and acting as the agents of heaven. They covet such abundant merit. Chu Xuan had an epiphany. If I were to deploy a blood-refining array in the future, sacrificing tens of thousands, millions, or even hundreds of millions of zombies, wouldn't the merit flood towards me, unstoppable, enhancing my wisdom, fortune, and lifespan immensely? The thought of such future possibilities brought a gleeful expression to his face. This planet, Blue Star, was truly a paradise for demonic cultivators. Chu Xuan quickly collected the array flags and departed on his flying sword. With so many blood pearls acquired, it was time for him to cultivate earnestly. After Chu Xuan left, a helicopter roared overhead, carrying Zhang Baoshan, Zhuang Chong, Sun Meng, and the pilot, who was also a team leader at Haifeng Security Company, Wang Yong. Professor Zhang, as soon as we received your distress signal, we hurried over here. Unfortunately, the helicopter hadn't been flown in a long time, and we were lacking spare parts, which delayed the repairs, Wang Yong explained apologetically. Zhuang Chong scoffed, if it weren't for someone else saving us, we would have already perished in East Lake City. Delaying the Institute's research and throwing you out to feed the zombies wouldn't even begin to compensate. Wang Yong offered an awkward smile. Yes, you're right. He attempted to ingratiate himself with Professor Zhang, but the elder man turned his face away, giving Wang Yong not a single glance for the entire journey. Wang Yong was visibly uncomfortable. As he was about to say something more, he suddenly pointed toward the unfinished building ahead and exclaimed, "My heavens, what happened here?" Zhang Baoshan and the others followed his gaze and recognized the building where they had previously stayed. However, the structure, which had been teeming with thousands of zombies just a short while ago, now lay eerily silent. A closer inspection revealed countless desiccated corpses strewn about haphazardly. These zombies, which had been lively and energetic not long ago, were now dead. And their deaths were peculiarly unsettling. Stop, I need to go down and look, Zhang Baoshan said sternly. Wang Yong hesitated, but there might still be zombies hiding below. I said I want to go down. Zhang Baoshan fixed his gaze on Wang Yong, his voice icy and deliberate. Wang Yong dared not offend further and quickly lowered the helicopter. Moments later, under the protection of Zhuang Chong and Sun Meng, Zhang Baoshan approached the outside of the unfinished building. Now, standing closer, they could see the skeletal remains scattered everywhere. Zhuang Chong pulled out a military knife and sliced open a corpse, finding not a trace of blood. With a slight squeeze, the remains crumbled into debris as fine as gravel, as if all the blood and moisture had been extracted. How could this have been done? Zhang Baoshan was speechless. Only about half an hour had passed since they had left, and now thousands of zombies here had been drained of blood. Such a feat was beyond human capability. Could it have been that cultivator? Sun Meng whispered. Recalling Chu Xuan's actions and demeanor from earlier, Zhang Baoshan nodded gravely, it's very likely him. This is too important. We need to hurry back and report this to General Yi. Yes, Zhuang Chong and Sun Meng nodded emphatically. In the Haotai Hotel, Chu Xuan returned as dusk had already settled. He fetched a bucket of instant noodles and 2 cans of beef, preparing his evening meal. As cultivators advance in their cultivation, reaching the foundation establishment stage allows them to subsist on ethereal nourishment, consuming the mist and dew, severing earthly ties to mundane sustenance. However, Chu Xuan had not yet reached the foundation establishment stage. Besides, having not indulged in instant noodles for over 20 years, what harm was there in enjoying them now? Zhao Hong's little storehouse was piled high with instant noodles, alongside a variety of chocolates and biscuits, all long-lasting food supplies. Enough for Chu Xuan to feast heartily. The bathtubs were now silent. Chu Xuan sent Hu and Bao, along with 2 spirit hounds, out to hunt independently, instructing them to bring back a few lively zombies to serve as spiritual plant furnaces. He commanded Hu and Bao not to prey on living humans at random, prioritizing zombies instead. Should they slaughter innocent mortals, the sin would inevitably fall upon him. He was not prepared to see the merits he had just gained vanish in the blink of an eye. After issuing his orders, Hu and Bao howled in unison, signifying their understanding. Beside them, Daho and Erho remained silent until Hu kicked them, sending them flying with a yelp. The 2 spirit hounds whined but quickly nodded in agreement. Watching them leave, Chu Xuan sat down cross-legged to absorb the great blood orb. The fist-sized orb hovered before him, strands of bloody qi entering his nostrils, circulating within his body according to the pathways of the blood spirit technique. With each complete circulation, Chu Xuan's spiritual qi grew stronger. 2 days later, his aura suddenly broke through a bottleneck. It was as if a fish had entered the sea, freely swimming. His eyes snapped open, a look of joy spreading across his face. The 7th level of qi refining. At this level, he was considered to be in the late stages of qi refining, the 7th level of the blood spirit technique, and a new spell to try. His repertoire of spells, minus those lacking defensive capabilities, included only the Spirit Blood Shield from the 4th level of the Blood Spirit technique, a mid-tier defensive spell of the qi refining stage. Most of the time, he relied on undead soldiers and goo insects for defense. Now, having mastered the 7th level of the Blood Spirit technique, he possessed a powerful superior spell. Chu Xuan stood abruptly, his palms gathering spiritual qi. Gradually, a chilling green flame coalesced in his palm. At a certain moment, when the green flame had swelled to its limit, Chu Xuan fiercely thrust it forward. With a loud bang, the wall was suddenly blasted open, sending debris scattering everywhere. Around the edges of the hole, the eerie green flames continued to burn for over 10 minutes before gradually subsiding. Chu Xuan raised an eyebrow. True to its reputation as a superior spell of the qi refining stage, its power was formidable. This spell was named Netherfire Orb. The Infinite Sect boasted 4 qi refining stage techniques, each with corresponding superior attack spells, 9 in total. Among them, Netherfire Orb was undoubtedly the most powerful. However, it had a critical flaw: the charging time was too long, and it consumed a great deal of spiritual qi. With his current reserves, Chu Xuan could only cast it 3 times. During the charging period, he was vulnerable to attack. If the spell failed to hit the target, the consequences would be dire, likely leaving him in a defensive position. Nevertheless, Chu Xuan was not overly concerned about missing his target. With many undead soldiers under his command, he could effectively restrict the enemy's movements. The Bloodsteel Wire also possessed the innate spell of bloodbinding, making it easier to control foes. Excellent, I should practice more and master the Netherfire Orb, he mused. As Chu Xuan prepared to continue practicing the Netherfire Orb, a noise came from the direction of the bathtub. Growling, a corpse puppet climbed out and respectfully approached Chu Xuan. Soon, the other corpse puppets also awakened and gathered around him. Chu Xuan had earlier mixed his blood into their corpse-refining elixir. Although it was not his essence blood, it had preemptively bound them to him, and that was why their respectful behavior. Chu Xuan took them back into the corpse nurturing tower and performed an identification technique. The results were somewhat disappointing. All 16 corpses possessed inferior qualities, and their spells were lackluster. The leap technique, allowing them to pounce forward over distances, and the jump technique, enhancing their jumping abilities, were the more useful ones. Other corpse puppets possessed such spells as the rapid eating technique, which accelerated their eating speed, the water storage technique, which allowed them to store water in their stomachs, and the purification technique, which could purify wastewater. Chu Xuan even discovered a self-destruct technique in one, which would rush into battle and self-detonate. He resignedly issued an order, forbidding this particular corpse from ever using its spell. I've painstakingly used refining elixirs and devoted effort to raise you, and you would explode at the slightest provocation in battle? How is that reasonable? Has this one not awakened yet? Chu Xuan approached the bathtub at the front. Inside it lay the body of Zhao Hong, yet only a thin layer of the corpse-refining elixir remained. While the other corpse puppets had already emerged, Zhao Hong had not. Chu Xuan was actually pleased by this delay. It was a good sign, indicating that Zhao Hong's corpse was vigorously absorbing all the essences of the elixir without cessation. After pondering for a moment, Chu Xuan prepared another bucket of the corpse-refining elixir and poured it into Zhao Hong's bathtub. At this rate, it might take another 3 to 5 days. Chu Xuan then found an empty room and began to practice the Netherfire Orb. Meanwhile, at the Black Blade Security, which contrasted sharply with the Spirit Dog-occupied Haotai Hotel, the surroundings were much cleaner and tidier. The company was enclosed by iron fencing topped with barbed wire, which was stained with blood and flecked with remnants of flesh, a clear testament to its effectiveness against zombies. At that moment, a man stood at the gate. "Open up, it's Wang Yong." The gate slowly swung open, and Wang Yong strode in. 2 gaunt men approached him, giggling. "Brother Yong, did you send those 3 away?" Wiping the sweat from his brow, Wang Yong replied, "Sent them off, the Linjiang army will pick them up. I need to see my cousin, I have something important to tell him." One of the gaunt men pointed to a 3-story building and whispered, "The manager is busy there. It's best not to go now, Brother Yong, you wouldn't want to disturb his mood." Wang Yong frowned deeply.
I must go, it's important.
He quickened his pace towards the building. As he reached the ground floor, faint enticing sounds could be heard from inside. A tall, burly man guarded the entrance of the small building. Wang Yong attempted to go upstairs but was stopped. "I need to see my cousin," he growled. The burly man remained expressionless. The manager ordered not to be disturbed by anyone, including you. Grinding his teeth, Wang Yong shouted, "Brother!
It's me.
I have something important to tell you. After a moment of silence inside the building, the sound of a desk being slammed echoed. A buzz-cut head emerged from a window cursing, "Damn it, don't you know I'm busy?" After a pause, he grumbled, "Come up then." Inside the dimly lit three-story building, Wang Yong reached the third floor. A slender woman sat trembling in a chair, while beside her, a man with a buzz cut and dark skin focused intently on playing a video game. The screen displayed a grim and dark style, showing an armored warrior with a large shield and a straight sword battling a giant flaming titan. Meanwhile, another screen played scenes of passionate lovemaking, the source of the seductive noises Wang Yong had heard. However, Wang Yong was not surprised by this scene. He had seen it before. Others might think his cousin, Wang Gangjian, was busy with women here, but in reality, Wang was merely gaming. Wang Gangjian played these sounds deliberately to avoid the perception that he was neglecting his duties for leisure. After all, as the boss of Black Blade Security, managing hundreds of subordinates, it wouldn't do for his men to think he was just gaming, which would undermine his authority. Yet Wang Gangjian was keen on gaming, so he devised these scenarios, bringing a woman to the building, playing suggestive sounds to mask his gaming. Suddenly, a scream sounded from the screen, and Wang Gangjian put down the controller with a sigh. "This giant is really tough." "Tell me, what is it?" he said, turning to his cousin Wang Yong. Wang Yong promptly recounted the scene he had witnessed at the unfinished building, in great detail and without omission. Wang Gongjian's expression was initially casual but quickly turned serious. "High-level zombies, it must be high-level zombies," Wang Gangjian said gravely. "What did that old Zheng from the Research Institute say?" Wang Yong shook his head. "They said nothing, and when I pressed who had rescued them, they evaded the question." Wang Gangjian sighed lightly. "East Lake City is really not a good place to be, with advanced zombies appearing one after another. Just a while ago, didn't Zhao Hong notify us that an advanced zombie appeared at the Walmart, and then it vanished?" "What should we do?" Wang Yong asked. Wang Gangjian glared at him. "What else can we do? Increase our vigilance, and stay away from that area. And, ask for some support from the Linjiang army. We are a force established under the guidance of the Linjiang army. With advanced zombies appearing frequently in East Lake City, we have to ask them for support." Wang Yong grinned. "You're always the smart one, big brother." Just as Wang Gangjian was about to pick up the controller again, he suddenly remembered something else. "You came back just in time. Zhao Hong bought a batch of canned food and medicines from us. Take some men and deliver it to them." "Eh? Didn't he always complain about the prices? Why is he buying now?" Wang Yong was puzzled. Wang Gangjian spoke offhandedly. "The Spirit Hounds has always been short on medicines. Initially, they staunchly refused to buy, claiming they still had supplies. Now that they've run out, they've no choice but to grit their teeth and pay the premium."
Wang Yong chuckled. "Fine.
"I'll take some men and deliver the goods then."
Go on then."
Wang Gangjian, without turning his head, waved dismissively and resumed his frustrating game. Meanwhile, Wang Yong and two men climbed into a wooling van and headed towards the Spirit Hounds headquarters at the Haotai Hotel. The gang maintains several strongholds, with the hotel serving merely as their main base. Additionally, there were food supplies from a large greenhouse to the north and a small fishery to the south. Due to East Lake City's modest size and relative abundance of resources, the Spirit Hounds and Black Peak Security had coexisted without fatal conflicts. An hour later, the van pulled up outside the Haotai Hotel. As one of the men started to disembark, Wang Yong hastily pulled him back.
"Something's off. It's too quiet."
"The Spirit Hounds is never like this." Wang Yong's face was grave as he sharply sensed the anomaly. It was broad daylight, a time when the gang members typically gathered in noisy clusters, playing cards or brawling. Each delivery was usually met with loud commotion from inside, but this silence was unnervingly odd, as if everyone had vanished. "Look carefully," Wang Yong whispered. The two men nodded and peered around cautiously. Suddenly one exclaimed, "Brother Yong, there's a body over there, a mutilated body." Wang Yong followed their gaze and indeed spotted a body. To call it a body was somewhat inaccurate. It was merely a fragment, consisting of part of an arm and a leg. "Let's get out of here fast." Wang Yong swallowed hard and growled. The presence of body parts indicated that the Haotai Hotel had definitely been attacked. Whether by zombies or some other formidable foe, the adversary was undoubtedly powerful. After all, Zhao Hong was considered a first-level superhuman. For an enemy to have silenced Zhao Hong, their strength had to be immense. Their only option now was to flee as quickly as possible. Buzzing with urgency, the van sped away with remarkable speed. However, they had not driven far when several figures appeared on the rooftops ahead. Through the car window, Wang Yong caught sight of two towering figures, resembling moving mountains. Each of their movements seemed to shake the ground. Their faces were fierce, their appearances bloodthirsty, bearing some resemblance to zombies yet with slight differences. Accompanying them were 2 giant hounds, which Wang Yong recognized as Zhao Hong's dogs, Daho and Erho.
High-level zombies. And 2 of them.
Even Zhao Hong's dogs had abandoned him and now followed these formidable creatures. Wang Yong's heart nearly burst from his chest. He bellowed, "Speed up, get us through."
Don't stop.
The driver, equally terrified, floored the accelerator, wishing he could merge with the engine to spin the wheels faster. Bao noticed the moving vehicle. The scent of living humans immediately ignited its bloodlust. Baring its teeth, it prepared to charge. Daho and Erho displayed equal aggression.
Roar.
But who growled low, a sound so threatening it immediately subdued the others. Bao, Daho and Erho's voices quieted, tinged with resentment.
Hum.
Under the watchful eyes of the 2 zombies and 2 dogs, the van sped away. Wang Yong's heart raced.
Are they following?
"I can faster," the driver shouted.
Ugh, no. Ugh.
Wang Yong vomited several times before managing to sit upright. "You really need ugh to improve your driving skills." The driver gave an embarrassed smile. Wang Yong glanced behind them. The 4 figures accelerated toward the Haotai Hotel. In the blink of an eye, they entered the hotel and disappeared. Wang Yong suddenly pieced everything together. He realized that the spirit hounds had likely been annihilated by the 2 high-level zombies. Zhao Hong was probably dead. The Haotai Hotel and its surroundings had become the territory of these advanced zombies. "Let's get back. We need to inform the boss immediately."
Ugh. Wang Yong growled. All right, I get it. Just don't throw up on me, the driver nodded.